Championship. And my name's Squid, joined by M and J. You know that. It says it right below. We've got Jay in his little snuggly little jacket there. And we've got a second series coming up as well. It's SG Pro versus Little Mix. They're going for a spot in those quarter-finals. That's all important here today, remember, considering it's single elimination. You only get one chance, Josh.
You absolutely do. It's bloody freezing, Squid, in the UK. It's freezing.
You know, I'm not freezing because I've got one of these.
That's very good. I wish I had one of those. I don't have one of those. I have one that's attached to the wall, but it's all the way over there. So it's the big fluffy jumper for now. But we saw an absolutely fantastic series to open up the day. Did go 2-0, but I don't think that scoreline really does it justice. Of course, that first map going to overtime and it being quite closely contested. A really, really exciting matchup. But going into this next one, I think that's where it's definitely going to be a hell of a lot closer. And I really am anticipating this next game to go the distance, the full 3-mapper. I know I said it the first time, but this time I really do mean it. SG Pro versus Lil Mix. I am going to double down. SG Pro versus Lil Mix. I think this is a really interesting one. One of those kind of really mid-tier, kind of tier 3 matches where both sides have had very similar results recently.
Yeah, you kind of see the rosters right now as well, and they might be players that if you just watch Tier 1 Counter-Strike that you're not aware of. I think that that's what's so brilliant about this tournament, though. It gives these lower tier teams a bit of an opportunity, a chance to shine right now as well. I think on this SG Pro roster, you're really looking for that teamwork and coordination to be at the forefront of their game. I think they need to just put together a powerful result based on that 5-man roster as well. And as we talk about the maps a little bit later, I'm sure that we'll get into that subject a little bit deeper. I do think this is a very closely contested matchup, but when you actually look at Lil Mix, maybe that's when you'll be more familiar with the players. Of course, you've got players like Bo3 and Quicks who are kind of leading the charge with this one. Those more notable names, obviously, players that you would have heard of over the last couple of years as well, playing at this sort of tier of online Counter-Strike. So just like that first game we talked about Na'Vi Jr., I don't think that they'll be having much stage fright coming into an online matchup like this.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Quicks brings a lot of experience into this roster, and I think he is actually the captain as well, so really carries that experience across the rest of the players. Bo3, a player that I've really had my eye on for quite a while. I casted a LAN event earlier on this year, and he got himself to the top-ranked player on HLTV for that weekend off of the back of that event. I think he had an ADR of about 135 or something just insane. It was like one of the most ridiculous numbers I've seen ever. So yeah, he really can be an incredibly flary, talented player when called upon. So do expect, if he does step up to the plate today and he's got up on the right side of the bed, do expect him to be dropping those 30 bombs and really tipping the scales in Lil Mix's favor, because he's absolutely capable of doing so.
Yeah, and if you're capable of doing that at LAN as well in an online matchup, that should give you a little bit of extra freedom. I think that it also gives your opponents another level of freedom as well. So if you can really thrive on the big stage, maybe that's better for a grand final or a big close semi-final, or in these matches that go into overtime. But in these online matchups where you might be at the very start of map 1, maybe that pressure de-applied, that isn't exactly when a player like that can really come into his own. But having that tenure over the course of a tournament is obviously really important, and we're looking for him to actually apply the numbers today. He is the top rated player on this roster, of course, and for Lil Mix, I think that they do have to have him show up as well. We do have names throughout this tournament that, again, you haven't really heard of. They're not household names by any respect, and personally, I think that this series kind of falls into that category as well, where you're kind of talking about these players and you don't really know what to expect. Of course, we've seen them in some of the other online cups recently that we've casted as well. Of course, Lil Mix, most notably, we did cast them a month or so ago. And it's nice to see that that kind of stability in the roster hasn't carried through, but this pacing certainly has. They've been getting these invites. They've been getting to these tournaments at least.
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen them a hell of a lot more recently, and with this kind of online environment, they're given an opportunity to thrive a bit more, to get into a few more matches. And you know, Squid, I'm sure he won't recognize me, okay? He won't remember me. He plays far too much Counter-Strike, but I definitely remember him. This same event, okay, I've played in the show match afterwards on stage and everything, and Quicks and Pith, when Pith was back playing in this Lil Mix roster, they were on the other team, okay? And there was a round, I pushed into B, and I one-deagged Quicks, and he had a P90 for some reason, right? I one-deagged him, and I picked up his P90, and I sprayed down Pith, and I got 4K, and it was a big
Is
play
that
for
the
me.
highlight? That's the highlight,
Big
right?
M&J highlight moment, yeah.
Big M and play.
Yeah, I'll remember that one, and I remember Quicks, the look on his face when I one-deagged him, but he won't remember me. No way.
What was the look on his face? Was it a big red spot?
It was one of these. It was a big, sad face. It was a big sad
0-2. Did you win the show match?
No, we lost, I think 16-13. It was very close.
So close. So close, of course. And I think this game will be close also. I've got to say, although I don't think that the bettors maybe agree with me over at our friends, over at Paramatch, but personally, I think the SG Pro might be even slim favorites coming into this. I think that they had an impressive performance recently in one of the 9-5 Cups, actually making the playoffs and getting through to those sort of like later state matches. And I think here in the European development championship, I think that realistically you're probably looking for SG Pro to make a bit of a deeper run through this. Of course, the top 2 teams there who goes through to face off for that $30,000.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a recurring theme here, isn't it, for Lil Mix, where we've seen them a lot in a lot of these online tournaments over the last 6 to 8 months, and we haven't really seen them breach out of any of the groups. Yeah, you look at all of the multi-vibe stuff, all of the 9-5 stuff, any other cup that we've seen them competing in. Obviously, we casted them in a smaller tournament earlier on in the year, and you see them kind of get to those group stages, they put out a decent performance, maybe they'll have a couple of upset games, but we've never actually seen them breach out of those groups or make a good playoffs run. And I think that that's something that really, in the pressure of a single elimination bracket like this, could definitely come to task, because I don't know whether it's that they don't handle pressure very well, whether they just have difficulty sort of closing things out, and sometimes they need a little bit of a cushion behind them. I'm not too sure. But as I say, in this single elimination bracket, it could definitely be problematic. They really, really need to take this one against SG Pro and kind of carry that momentum across.
Yeah, we can actually have a look at that single elimination bracket as well, because it has been taking form over the course of today. Of course, that first matchup obviously going firmly Na'Vi Junior's way, and obviously, this is the second out of 4 best of 3s that we've got today on the A stream as well. And if you look over towards HLTV, they've got all of those matches posted as well. There's the B stream going on right now. And that's really an important factor as well to look at. We're covering one side of that bracket, and of course the other side as well is on that side broadcast. So that is always going on today. So you can flick between those matches as well and show our friends down below some love while you're going out. You've obviously got Hellcase and Paramatch, who are those partners who we've got on board for this tournament, who all try and make this happen. And of course, Gaming Malta, the home of gaming excellence as well, showing some love to them as well, because they've shown a lot of love to a lot of these players throughout this tournament as well, with a lot of that support that they've really put in. And this match is no exception either. Teams that maybe wouldn't have had a lot of Counter-Strike to play right now if it wasn't for this. And they're exciting teams at the end of the day. They certainly are. I think SG Pro, they've shown us a level of form recently. Close matches against the likes of the Heretics of the world and these higher tier teams as well, taking a lot of these rosters actually to all 3 maps. And I think that that's something really interesting to kind of note there. SG Pro seem to play to the level of their opponents. They actually took a 2-1 win against Heretics, a 2-1 win against Copenhagen Flames. They could very easily be invite tournaments to a lot of these bigger tournaments, Josh. They don't have to play from those group stages. And then losses against Nexus Impact and a couple of 2-0s there as well. So I think it's what form do they show up on the day?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the one that really, really sticks up in my mind is that K23 win only a couple of weeks ago. In fact, not even a couple of weeks ago, only 1 week ago, in fact. And yeah, as you say, I don't think that they're really a heavy staple for all of these invites just yet, but they are definitely of that caliber. And if they can just prove themselves a little bit more, then I think that that's definitely a high chance of that happening. And tournaments like this are a good opportunity for them to prove themselves. Yeah, let's say they have a good playoff bracket run throughout this. They have a couple of upsets. They beat a couple of teams that maybe they shouldn't do. Even if they don't qualify through, their recent matches, their results, their world ranking goes up off of it. And then they just tip over that edge of getting an invite rather than being in this kind of closed qualifier situation, which is where a team like SG Pro seem to find themselves quite a lot at the moment. And I think that, yeah, there's a very, very thin, a very small margin there, but just to tip over that margin is where you then don't have to play these wildcard qualifiers, and you can actually just get stuck in with the main tournament and really sort of put all of your work and all of your effort into that one, because this is going to be a long few days for every team involved. And I think all of them would much, much prefer to be in a position where they just get a straight invite.
Yeah, and we've got to be honest, then going further into this tournament, if they actually want to get out of this bracket, it's very likely that they'll have to play Fate next, and then the winner of Na'Vi Junior versus Ago to even get a spot in that main European Development Championship to play for the $30,000. So it's obviously a really tough road into this one for them, but that's what you get as one of the underdog teams. You're kind of challenged from the offset. You've really got to make the most of these opportunities when they come. And there's no better way to do that than in a single elimination bracket as well. It's what can they bring to the server right off the bat as well. It's kind of one best of three that decides it all. And then if you win 3 in a row, you get through to that development championship. And yeah, you've got a spot to play against some of the big dogs then. Obviously, those massive invite teams that we'll be seeing later on in the week. And obviously that big playoffs bracket that concludes in mid-December as well. So really interesting stuff all considered. And I think the SG Pro, they are just one of those underdog teams where we will get a bit of a temperature check on them today.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they've kind of got themselves a really nice matchup right now, considering they are one of the underdog teams. There was massive potential that straight off the bat, they just get put up against an Ego or a Fate, and they just get absolutely wrecked, and that's it. But they've been given a bit of a lifeline here in this first match up against a team like Lil Mix, a team that they're absolutely capable of beating. As we've talked about before, this is like a really, really even matchup, probably the closest one that we'll see all day, potentially. And yeah, I think that they've kind of been they've not drawn the short straw. They've been given a real lifeline here to actually get past this first round of the playoffs bracket, and not face straight away up against one of those really strong teams. Because I think, like, earlier on, we obviously saw that Vodafone Giants game. If you're Vodafone Giants, you're going to be pretty tilted that your first game is against a side like Na'Vi Junior, where you just get 2-0'd, because there are plenty of teams on this side of the bracket in Group A that they would have much, much preferred to play against, and I really would have fancied their chances.
Yeah, and realistically, I think that that's when you've got to take your chances as well in a series like this, when you are playing against a Little Mix. And I think that you could say the same for a Little Mix as well. They could have also drawn one of those short straws, and that would have been a bit of a tougher, trickier matchup realistically. And coming into this one, obviously, we've put this into the grander context of the whole European Development Championship, but it is only this series that matters, and then you kind of have to take it one pace at a time, one step at a time. I kind of look at this series, all things considered, because we actually, despite how long we've been talking, haven't actually got into the maps yet. I've got it on my screen here. It's actually going to go to Train first. That's for Little Mix. Vertigo for SG Pro, and then Mirage as well as that decider if we need it. We've talked about this potentially being maybe our only best of 3 of the day that goes all 3 maps. So let's see. And as I said earlier, this is a temperature check for both teams. If they can come into this series and batter their opponents, either way, if it's SG Pro or Little Mix, then we could be favoring them in the next matchups as well. But it is very hard to favor either of these teams, even against a Fate with roster issues, against obviously an Ega or a Na'Vi Junior, who we saw put some real firepower into the server today.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They've got a good chance if we do see that dominant performance, but I'm not sure if we'll see that. Talking about those maps that you've just touched upon, I think it's a really interesting one. I had a look at these maps just beforehand, actually, and yeah, it's weird that we haven't touched upon it yet. It's gone completely over my head, the maps, to be honest. But Train, Vertigo, and Mirage. There are 3 maps that both sides are actually very comfortable with. We saw in the first matchup, going straight on to Inferno, Na'Vi Junior. They actually haven't had a great recent track record on Inferno, even though we know that they have a good historic track record on it. And therefore, you kind of really did expect more of a dominant performance from the Vodafone Giants in that first map. Here, it's actually pretty even Stevens. Train is both teams have played it 14 times. They both have a 43% win rate on it. So I don't think, even though it is Little Mix's pick, I don't think either team are going to really be more favored than the other in that one. Vertigo as that second map, both teams got a really solid win rate on it as well, above that 50% mark. And then the same can be said for that third and final of Mirage. So I think this is actually going to be a really, really interesting series.
Yeah, I think so as well, to be perfectly honest. Let's get into the action then. It's the pistol to start us off. Heavy utility there for BQ and Bo3. Everybody else with the Kevlar for this T side. It's SG Pro with all body armor, no kits at their disposal as they spread for this 4-to-1 split. It's a little mix to try and take Ivy control to begin things.
It's always a dangerous game to be playing when you don't go for any utility or any kits. You need to find all the kills, and Senator, well, he's doing exactly that. Nice opener, no idea how he's still alive, and he's just mowing down these attackers. This is not a good start for Lil Mix.
No, not whatsoever. And realistically, Josh, we talk about Train. It's always a CIS map made famous by, well, a lot of these big teams in that Eastern European scene. Fast pistol for SG Pro regardless, only dropping one player. Senator doing the majority of the damage there towards Ivy. 3 fast frags, really ends the round in its tracks, and Lil Mix just stuck in the mud here.
Well, what a start from SG Pro. That was just such domination. Senator, he should have been traded straight away there on Ivy, and somehow he's able to just do so much damage. Here in the second, sparing no expense, SG Pro, they're going for a full investment. They've got a few rifles to work with, a couple of MP9s to rack up the cash, and Lil Mix, they've gone for a force of their own, but well, it's certainly not as strong. That single SMG, just the Deagles to back it up, but in the hands of very capable fraggers.
Absolutely, and that's what we're really looking at right now. Can they hit that first 1D and try and breach open one of those bomb sites? 3 seem to think so over beside Ivy, but as the M4 takes the initial peek, nobody finds that opening shot before the push comes through. Bo3 does take away the first, and Roofire, he's escalated himself and elevated himself on top of this green train, and he has a vantage point right above this smoke. Not much damage dealt. Isaac obviously down to just the 9 points of health, though. But no kills going SG Pro's way as of the minute mark. And Roofire, oh, he's stuck in the mud right now. Needs to get out of dodge on top of this train. And as the Deagle chips on in, there's only 50 seconds left to play with as they head back to A main.
Well, they do have this man advantage, but they've taken so much damage. And up against these automatic weapons, I think that could be very, very problematic. They do head back over towards A main. It's very much looking like it is going to be a fast hit. That smoke really going to eliminate Fame at this point. But as soon as the attention's diverted, he'll be able to swing out and do some damage. That's if he's needed at this point. Keith's just doing all of the work. And Fame, that's his cue to join the party. Maybe a little bit late. 2 versus 2, though. And I don't think there's any opportunity for Lil Mix here. Ooh.
Quick kills, and only the Famous remains. The bomb going away, and Quicks, that's a jumping shot to end proceedings. 1-to-1 Little Mix. They didn't seem to have a chance, but they somehow pulled the rabbit out of the hat to draw the scoreline level.
Wow, I think that's definitely going to be the cue here for SG Pro to maybe reevaluate this one. I was thinking that they had such a strong start, they could really start to steamroll here early on Train. Instead, it's forced time. Couple of scouts to work with. Definitely viable for a round like this here on Train with those Deagles to back it up. Maybe they can bounce this one right back, but Lil Mix, I'm not sure I see that happening. They're playing very, very defensive CS right now.
Yeah, with this force buy, you obviously want to find those opening picks, especially with the scouts at the ready. They've got 2 on Senator and Kiza.
Oh. That is a snappy headshot. Man advantage for Lil Mix now to work with as they press even further. Quicks, he knows exactly what's up, and the call for the flash from his teammate is absolutely flawless.
And here comes the SMGs. It will be the MAC-10 leading the charge, but they're finding the kills elsewhere. Isaac with 1, and Lil Mix, they're already, well, breaking apart this setup. And only with the scout in play, trying to take a couple of pop shots with a double set piece. And that's another headshot found as Senator wants to do everything on his lonesome. He needs an ace right now in this round. It's a tag no frag onto Bo3 as they're able to end the round 2-to-1.
Well, much more convincing stuff there from Lil Mix, and they should be allowed a freebie into this one too. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I've definitely predicted that one wrong. SG Pro. I suppose you've got to remember winning the pistol and then losing the follow-up means that you don't get that bonus anymore.
This is wild.
Yeah, it is pretty wild, isn't it? They definitely could have gone for an eco instead, opting for another force buy. If this doesn't work out for them, they're going to take a pretty early, pretty heavy hit.
Yeah, and doing this on your CT side is especially difficult as well. Maybe on the terrorist half where you can get a bomb down and obviously feel very confident, but with Sved hitting these headshots, I don't fancy their chances.
Well, not a lot of utility to work with, but Fame could certainly get sneaky here and cause problems. Just has to time this one perfectly. And right now, I think he's a little bit too late. Lil Mix already out on this B site, and they're already finding all the frags. 2-man advantage, and Quicks is pressing further, looking to rack up even more cash with this Mac 10.
And this is where things obviously get a bit tough and tricky. Quicks, he's finding shots elsewhere before Fame's able to at least spray away one with the Desert Eagle. Not entirely accurate, but with the A-bomb site completely taken, this is SG Pro's, well, little risk not panning out in their favor. Just an AK-47 now for SG Pro. That's Fame holding that one. And maybe he has to save this one, Josh. I think perhaps just go towards the CT spawn and try and get away with at least your life and a rifle.
If he can carry across this AK, then it gives them something to work with in the next round. It's not going to be a buy anyway, so it'll just be that single rifle surrounded by a load of pistols. This Lil Mix will be able to put themselves onto 3 and more than likely 4, unless SG Pro go for what I would consider another ill-advised force buy, which I think is very, very unlikely. This is much better Counter-Strike from Lil Mix. I started to get concerned after round number 1, but they've picked up the pieces very nicely.
Exactly, and obviously 3-1 on the board. This is where Little Mix can really start to pull ahead against the majority unarmored opponents. Fame, of course, doesn't really want to spend too much. He has got the head armor as well to play with.
Yeah, maybe there's an opportunity here for him to do some real damage, accompanied by a couple of deagles too. Maybe they do find a few frags, but right now, Lil Mix, they've got all the tools in the box. And they are just going to head over towards B, try and get some damage done early. Fame really the only man that can tend this one. And that Molotov forcing him back, he's going to have to fall away. He has no smoke to extinguish it.
90 seconds left to play with as well. Boner Master on the AWP for the first time, and Little Mix, they'll probably be using this as a can opener for either of these bomb sites. Fame actually taking a little tickle of damage inside the pop dog. Wants to just watch upwards with this AK-47 to steal away the first shot. But with the set piece coming outside the B bomb site, SG Pro obviously aren't set up to deal with this one. They've got 4 players, actually 5 towards the A bomb site. They've got absolutely no coverage on B whatsoever. So the bomb goes down with ease. And this round will be a breeze.
It definitely will be. SG Pro, I'm not really sure what their plan is here. Maybe to go for some exits, see if they can snatch away a rifle. I think Fame really wants to carry that AK across into the next, have that firepower to work with, accompanied by some actual rifles. I think he's been spotted, though. Where's he taken that damage from? Ah, it was from Sved, but he's fine. He's found the kill anyway.
Ooh, Kiza finds 2 in the meantime as well, and that drops some of the rifles. They should be salvaged here from Little Mix, and I don't see, obviously, Senator getting hold of anything all too much, but there is an AK on the ground for him to grab, retrieve, and carry into the next. So 2 AK-47s carried through. That's pretty much maximum damage whilst retaining 2 players, as well as SG Pro can now go for the full buy. They've gone 4-1 down, remember, Josh, instead of 3-1 down after that secondary force buy. So that's obviously put them on the back foot coming into the bulk of their CT side. But now with the double up setup in play, this might have been the game plan all along.
Oh, finally an AWP on both sides. Feels like the first time we've really seen a solid even buy. In fact, a double AWP setup in the hands of SG Pro right now. Senator, previously that Ivy player, still lingering towards that area of the map, as Keith's actually there to support. They've got this double AWP setup stacked up over towards Ivy, and as this A execute comes through, that could be very problematic.
And this is where they can bombard this A bomb site, and Kiza doesn't know where to look. He's got multiple angles to watch down, and missing that first shot and connecting the follow-up, that actually gives them an opportunity. Damage done. You see the bullet splatter, and there's the finisher there for Quicks. That's the A bomb site firmly taken, and now Senator's got a real task on his hands. Is he even going to go back in for this one? First shot does connect. And now with the AWP on this A bomb site, needs to be spotting around this smoke for BQ, who's just lurking, lingering, and wait! Fast frag, and Bo3 the last to survive, but he's only on 12 HP, Senator, so needs to nail this frag now or get on the defuse, and the smoke misplaced, needs to take this shot, it's a flick that just about misses. Bo3's not connecting anything in the meantime, and finally with a pistol to close things down, and Lil Mix, they're up to 5.
Well, I believe the last time we casted Lil Mix, it was also on Train. I think it's just a map that they're incredibly comfortable with. And on this T side, they seem to be able to really cause upsets. Of course, you've got to remember this map historically very, very CT-sided. You don't want to be allowing your opponents to be taking 6, 7 rounds on their T side. And Lil Mix, they're well on track to take that at the very least. Here are the odds from our partners over at Parry Match, and, well, they're confirming exactly what we're seeing in front of us. Lil Mix, definitely the favourites here on Train.
Yes, certainly so. After that 5-round streak of the pistol round, obviously we saw SG Pro. They were slight favourites coming into this one, and, well, you know exactly why. It might not be their map pick, but realistically, 80 seconds left on the clock and just watching and waiting for these peaks to come through against the double AWPs.
Very, very little utility for this SG Pro side to work with, and that is where it starts to get very dangerous. Rooffire here to try and recover this Ivy position, but all of this utility being bombarded at him, and he knows that he can't go for the full swing. If he does so, it's certainly going to be his demise. Bo3 still posted on this angle. That Molotov going to give them a little bit of wiggle room to work with. Force Rooffire away. And Keys, well, he's there to level out these numbers a little bit further.
Feels like these CTs are actually overpeaking towards Ivy in the early portions of these rounds and conceding a lot of frags. Train is so powerful for the CTs just because you can watch and wait for these peaks to come through. And that smoke is incredibly bad, but Sved walks right into it and Fame's able to take him down without being dealt any damage himself. That puts the double AWPs back in play here for SG Pro, and they should be able to close out their second on the CT side with the AWP and AK-47 looking to pitch in. It's Isaac to find the headshot, but he's taken a lot of damage in return. This A bomb site now totally open as Fame needs to catch him on the cross and absolutely does. Should be round over, but Isaac still lingering, still lurking, but doesn't contend against the USPS.
Well, we just miss it, but I can imagine that would have been a pretty crazy flick considering where he was holding and where the player peeked from. Lil Mix right now. They've still got the money in the bank to go for another investment. Of course, this is going to be really eating into that reserve cash. They're not going to be able to afford anything after this. In fact, 3 of the players literally on $0. They've managed that economy right down to nothing. They need to try and extend this lead a little bit further, but Bo3 losing that AWP fight. Not a good start here in the 8th.
This is when you often see shutdown moments for the CTs, and that seems to be the case coming into round number 8.
These smokes really slowing down this T side as well. Makes things very difficult. Makes it really difficult to actually get onto this A site early as well and establish good positions before the CTs do. That's really something on Train that the T side have as a major advantage. They seem to be able to get into A main before the CTs can actually get those close aggressive positions posted, and therefore they can take these early gunfights and really start to overwhelm that defensive side. Instead, they're being held at bay by the smoke grenades, and Quick's just trying to wriggle his way in, but there's so many defenders all around him. He is able to find himself a freebie, though, and that's going to give him an avenue of approach over towards B.
That actually does give them a split onto this B bomb site as well. As Kisa finds a shot with the AWP, that is that connector prod instantly eliminated and eviscerated. 35 seconds left to play with, and Lil Mix still completely out of position. They've got to rely on Sved to find some of these shots, and tappity tap, it's Rooffire to drop, and 30 seconds left to work with. Lil Mix are really running out of time right now. Luckily for them, the B bomb site is open, and Sved is the perfect distraction. Even though he goes down, that gives them the bomb plant in a 2 versus 2 that I don't know if SG Pro are going to be able to go for. This is all falling apart in all of the wrong places.
Well, one of the first times we've really seen an incredibly close scenario, but SG Pro, they're falling right into the trap. Lil Mix, they've got one right at the back of the bomb site, one right at the very start, and Senator, I have no idea how he's predicted that one. Finds the swing, hits the shot onto BQ. And Isaac needs to find this kill. Does exactly that. Swings out on the defending man, and Lil Mix are able to tip it right over the edge. 6-2 now, as this is looking more and more convincing.
It absolutely is. And on the T side of Train as well, that's not when you're expecting something like this to happen. Lil Mix are just putting together a stellar performance, and SG Pro just don't seem to have those building blocks in place on this counter-terrorist side. And maybe Lil Mix have dug into those recent matchups. You said, Josh, before this game started that SG Pro have only just played Train a couple of days ago. And, well, realistically, in some of those 9-to-5 cups, it gives your opponents a big advantage to dig into those demos, watch what their opponents are doing. And on a map like Train, they can try and counter-strat that. If they've spotted this overpeaking towards Ivy, then maybe that's what they've been going for. It's an abusive setup. And Bonemaster, I don't know how he does it, but both of those frags go his way.
I don't know either. The more I think about it in my head, how he's managed to find both before being traded, or in fact, without being traded, is pretty sensational. And, well, as they find one more, a 5 versus 2 does become a 4-on-2, but SG Pro is still left with very, very little equity here in round number 9. And BQ, I mean, that's such a snappy headshot. Dire probably on borrowed time here. Does actually snatch himself one more, but Lil Mix, they will be able to recover it nicely. Quicks will have a nice little upgrade as well onto that AK. And they have a fantastic lead here. They've already got themselves onto 7. This is more than enough. And they're bargaining for maybe even the double digits here in the first half. And a double AWP setup, which is interesting.
Certainly, and these rounds as well from Little Mix aren't just looking one-sided. They look cleaner than Sillet Bang, 7-2, and Little Mix are just leading the charge in every single scenario. And the double orbs against a couple of pistols, that could be a bit of a danger point here, but they've got those automatic weapons, even the MAC-10 in the Mercs, in the hands of Quicks to try and do the damage in the meantime. And he is going to just slither his way out onto this A bomb site to try and spot out these initial players. And, well, realistically, 90 seconds on the boards. And already the Desert Eagles going to a Veil. There's the trade.
It's a nice start from SG Pro, but as these rifles continue to press forward, these double AWPs still posted, especially as they've already creeped out onto this B site. I don't think there's any way back in for SG Pro. As they go for this rotation towards CT, that's going to be Lil Mix's cue to actually push into this A site, wrap around the back lines. A snappy 1-dig from Senator does give them a rifle to work with for this retake, but a 3-on-2, and they have been completely outpositioned.
Yeah, and it's just the same scenario once again, isn't it? Lil Mix, the kills go their way at the very start of this performance. They get the bomb down, and there's no point even giving away the rifles at this point. Lil Mix are practically already on the hunt, even though SG Pro aren't massively committed either way. They're just sat outside of this B bomb site, and I don't see this being a ninja defuse. There's way too little time on this board, and Giza doesn't have the defuse kit. Either way, it's going to just be the Desert Eagle and AK-47 to save.
I think that's a smart save call there from SG Pro. Of course, they do have the money to buy into this one now, but Lil Mix, they just extend that lead further and further and further. And on the CT side, sometimes you can sort of justify. You can say, okay, when we're on our defensive half, we'll start to pull it back. But for SG Pro right now, there's no excuses. They're just letting this one slip away. Might be too far gone.
They absolutely are, and Lil Mix are already halfway towards the finish line here at this point, and realistically, I think it is just this A-hold that's really favoring for them. Obviously, they've been playing this 4A setup since the start, and Lil Mix just don't seem to be able to contend with it. Every time they've headed towards the curly letter, the rotates have been firmly in their place, and that's considering they're not even playing a single member beside connector, which is usually what you would do in a 4-1 setup, but yeah, they found another solution on this SG Pro side, and it just doesn't seem to be working out for them. I assume that Quicks is going to go down, though, and that gives them an opening here in the 11th.
It definitely gives them something to work with early on, especially considering Lil Mix haven't been able to trade it out just yet. Senator, he's playing a dangerous game up close to this Ivy area. They've lost control of this portion of the map. So many rounds. They have to be careful that this isn't the position where they allow Lil Mix to level out these numbers and actually have a chance back into this one.
And this is where the AK-47 might be able to go to a Veil for one of the first times. 40 seconds left to play with, and realistically, this will tick down even further until Little Mix make their approach. Round still certainly hangs in the balance as Rufire wants to get aggressive. This is the mistake they've been making before, Josh. This time he gets away with only the one before going down. It's been quick, snappy trading from Little Mix since the start. And Cinetor, that is a lightning fast headshot, isn't it? Bodemaster all the way on this site is going to get eliminated by the AWP. And this round definitely looks over here for Little Mix, as that AWP is also spotted as well. Sved might even just have to back off here. Knife out, running and gunning backwards. And this will be SG Pro's third, but nothing to brag about.
Definitely not. I think even if they pull it all the way back to 7, it's not bragging turf. It's more just, I don't know. It's good. If they can pull it back to 7, then it's something that they'll certainly be happy with going forward. But Lil Mix right now, they've got this momentum. They've got the cash behind them. They're going to go for another full investment here. And what is this? They're up against a triple AWP setup. This could go very well, or this could go horribly wrong for SG Pro. And if it's the latter, Lil Mix will be on to 9.
This is where things get incredibly difficult. Triple AWPs off in a desperation play. They've only found a triplet of rounds thus far. And we are very late in the game as well for this to be the case. Lil Mix, they have got that one AWP to play with, but playing a more aggressive setup from SG Pro once again on the A-bomb site. This could certainly pan out in Lil Mix's favor if they can steal away one of these first frags.
Oh, nice early start there from Fame. Gets that headshot, snatches away an AK, and gets right out of there. SG Pro, they're definitely looking better here. It seems like they've woken up a little bit on train, but is it too late? They've let so many rounds slip away. This is not a good time to be trying to get back into this one. They needed to do so a little bit earlier, but maybe this momentum is just about enough. 4 versus 2, and Bodemaster, well, he's going to get his head ripped clean off.
Yeah, you always see how speedy those peaks are from the death perspective, don't you? When that swing comes in, there's another one. Happens again in SG Pro, a 4th round granted. The best case scenario here, Josh, is it's 8-7. And SG Pro, even that probably isn't good enough on the CT side. So then you need the pistol on top, and that is the path to victory here for the Russians. And realistically, Lil Mix just have to continue with what they're doing. It's one of their first ecos. I think they're maybe even their first eco or map. Remember the 4 spies at the start? They were successful. They haven't been put into one of these awkward scenarios yet.
Well, after this eco round, it's going to be a best case 10-5. Considering they were 8-2 up, I think they'd definitely be hoping for a little bit more than that. But if they can still pull it off, I think they'll be very, very happy. Early kill from Keys over towards B, and all of the information gained that this is actually going to be a heavy B hit. But with only the pistols to contend with, of course they are just against a full eco. I don't think they're going to be all too challenged. Best case here really for Lil Mix is to try and get this bomb down. And it looks like they might actually be able to do so. I was expecting Ray to contest this one a little bit more, and instead takes a back step. C4 still doesn't go down though, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I think Lil Mix were just trying to go for those kills on the B bomb site to maybe try and solidify the round, since money shouldn't really matter at this point. And obviously you see those odds from our friends over at Paramatch. Lil Mix still very firm favorites coming into this second half. Obviously we've still got 2 left to play on this first side. It's 8-5, and Lil Mix, this is where maybe just 1 or 2 rounds might be the cherry on top that pushes them over the top.
Absolutely. 9-6, 10-5. That would be a very, very big half for Lil Mix. Once again, they're heading over towards this B side. DeRay up close and personal with this incendiary. Just jiggle peeking. As soon as he spots the elbow, it will be deployed and he'll call for the rotation. This is looking like it's going to be a pretty hard-hitting hit.
Yeah, this is where you need the reinforcements, and obviously tough, tricky stuff. It's coming through from all angles, and, well, the defense, it's posted. It's a doublet, of course. DeRay, he's the first to get traded. Rufire is there to find not just 1, but 2. Bodemaster falling before BQ and Sved have any sort of a foothold on this B bomb site. That kill gives them a potential for a bomb plant, but Sved's lost all of his teammates around him, and the bomb dropped back behind. He wants to rummage for the frags instead. Force this potentially into a slightly better situation, but Fame is about to shut it down. It's another one for SG Pro. This is quite a few in a row, as they might be able to solidify at least an acceptable half.
Well, Lil Mix, they're looking like they're struggling a little bit in these last few rounds. In that one, you kind of get that dilemma when you come out of heaven. You either take those fights, you stay posted on that corner, but you stay very, very exposed to all angles, or you try and drop down and, well, you get shot like pigeons in midair. Fame only good for one with that opener. Fantastic flash on Bowden, gives them some leg room to work with, but SG Pro still winning these gunfights, coming out on top with the duels.
Yeah, finally traded back by Isaac, but it feels like SG Pro have all of the building blocks in place for this to end with a 7-round half, and that's certainly nothing to be super excited about for them, but still around as well. If they can bring this over the top, then there's every opportunity. BQ last alive, low on HP, and back to the B bomb site. SG Pro, they've been detained by the fire and flames inside the pop dog, so bomb away money.
With the 5 lost rounds in a row right at the end there. An 8-2 lead becomes an 8-7 half, and all of a sudden it's not as impressive. 8 rounds on your T side on train, definitely still something to be happy about though. As they go into this CT pistol, if they can tip it over the edge, then they've still got a firm advantage here in trade.
Yeah, exactly. And an 8-7, it can certainly fall the other way, of course. If the pistol doesn't go your favor, if you really start to kind of, fall apart in that sense, then, there's every opportunity that this can just kind of crumble. And that massive lead that Lil Mix had earlier might flail. Quick's going down, means the pistol might go SG's way and forcing them out of action with the Glocks. Running gun, bomb goes down, and Little Mix are completely out of action as they go in for this retake. 3 players coming in from the CT spawn, and I think Sved should be able to find this shot, but Rootfire checks the corner instead. That is lightning fast. And now SG Pro in a 5 versus 3 where they also have the health advantage. The USPSs, they're trying to chip and chime through, but over towards Heaven, this seems to be a lockdown for SG Pro, and those kills are just going to confirm and convert it. Isaac the last to drop. And there's the wrap-up.
Wow, that was pretty convincing stuff from SG Pro. Definitely similar to what we saw in the first half. Pistol, very decisive, very snappy headshots. What they have to make sure of is that Lil Mix don't bounce back and do the same as what they did in that first half. Up against these rifles, I think that would be very, very difficult. But as we get further into this game, you see those odds from our partners over at Parry Match really starting to shift. Still in Lil Mix's favor, but not by a big margin. Bowden actually gets himself the tag. Man advantage here for SG Pro, but this round certainly coming too close for comfort. BQ tags out another man with that SSG. It certainly becomes very, very dangerous. Keese, he's low HP, and with Fame getting headshotted, this becomes, a very dangerous game. SG Pro, they have to take this kill onto BQ, and they absolutely do so. Beautiful stuff, puts their 9th on the board, but another very, very close one. I really think that they were hoping they'd be able to take that one with ease, but instead, it's a little bit of a difficult one for them to convert, but they should be able to put themselves onto double digits.
Yeah, they certainly should be able to. No body armor here for any of the Lil Mix players, and Well, this is not going to be a tied-up scoreline, more than likely. It will just be SG Pro with the AK-47s moving the way onto 10 and, well, maneuvering their way possibly closer to a victory. This would be quite the mighty comeback. The Desert Eagle, there's the first, and I can't actually find any more as it's Sinator, the second man to open up, and the A-bomb site certainly hangs in the balance. If they could have hit some 1Ds there, that could have certainly been possible, probably even. And Isaac, last alive, it will be 10 to SG Pro. I think as well, Josh, that at this point, it's all down to the rifles. You kind of get into the follow-up round, right, where the AWPs come out here for Little Mix. You look at the money, and it looks like BQ will probably have enough money to get out the sniper rifle into the next, and everybody else, it will just be those M4s as well, with a little bit of utility, the trimmings as well. It is Thanksgiving. You have to stuff in the carrots, everything else. I don't know what Americans eat. Maybe they just have a flapjack with their, I don't know.
What? Are you telling me flapjacks are an American thing?
It just sounded like an American. I know that it's
Flapjack.
not, but it sounds very it sounds like an American. That's what an American would say to a Brit, like to me. He's like, "Oh, you having your flapjack?"
No, I'm pretty certain flapjacks aren't an American thing. I'm pretty sure they're not an American Thanksgiving thing either.
Crackerjack is an American thing.
Right. Maybe. I think they're very different, aren't they?
They're very, very different.
Yeah. Yeah, very different things. I think they just have a turkey and stuff like that. I think it's pretty standard stuff.
Is that it? They just have a turkey?
Well, I mean, they have like the same as us. I think it's literally the same as us. But they have really big families with really big tables, like dining tables. Maybe that's just in movies, but
they do, with big chairs as well.
Big chairs, big tables.
Are you sure you're not confusing this with Goldie, with the three bears? What's the thing with three? It's not Goldilocks.
Goldilocks.
It is Goldilocks.
It is, yeah.
There we go. It's been a while, Josh. It's been a while, and it's been an early morning.
It has been an early morning.
Got any other excuses? I'm sure I've got some more excuses here. There's surely some excuses. Where is it? My dog ate my homework.
Oh, no, that's lame. That's lame. It always has to be a little bit more elaborate than that. I've learned. I used to be the master at it at school. And you're going to ask me for examples, and I'm not going to give you any because that's part of my secret. But it's all about making the elaborate excuses.
Well, once, and this is true, my dog did eat my homework after I had done it. There was no time to do it again. And then I wanted to get the homework back, but then a shark ate my dog. So I couldn't get it back.
All right. What are the odds of that?
It's just unbelievable. Teacher didn't even believe me either. We were all devastated.
But I've met your dog.
No, it was another dog.
Different dog. All right,
Yep.
fine.
Totally different dog.
Fine. Fine. I'll take your word for it. I believe you. That was snappy.
Wow, and that one was as well.
You know what I love about being in the server? I am going to have to mute him because it's becoming very tilting. But I can actually hear Roofire, and it's very interesting.
Oh, you can?
Yeah. He's
What's
getting
he
very
saying?
excited. I don't know because it's in Russian, but he just, after they won that round, he was like, ah, nice team. But like in Russian, I don't know. But he sounded very excited.
Well, that's good. They're obviously feeling confident coming into this, and why wouldn't you be? They were 8-2 down, and they've basically won everything from here on out. What a massive streak for SG Pro. This map looked practically over. We saw the odds from our friends over at Paramatch, and Lil Mix, they were pretty much a solid lot to take this one. Just shows how quickly these series can turn on their heads.
Yeah, it absolutely does, doesn't it? Lil Mix, this is their map pick. You really do expect them to come into this one a lot hotter, and they just haven't. They looked fantastic at the very start, but since going on to the city side and actually in the later rounds of the first half, they have really, really been struggling. A really nice play there as well, just to get that AK out the map, retrieve that AWP, and pick through these final pistols. I have no idea how DeRay knows that there's another man pushed up, but spins around, finds that headshot, does come down into a 2-on-2, but SG Pro, they're in a much better position here to finish this one off.
They certainly are, and that's been the case for many rounds in a row at this point, approaching 10. And, well, realistically, it's just looking so damn one-sided. And, well, there's the 12th. Absolutely wrapped up there for SG Pro. They're just 4 away from the victory.
Well, 4-round lead. Double up setup here from the Lil Mix side. Of course, they really do have to come out swinging here. They have to fight back. If they don't, it's probably going to be around 14 for SG Pro. And that's where it does start to get out of hand. They have a 4-round gap, and it can very easily be closed, but it needs to start to close right here, right now. And SG Pro, they're playing this one nice and slow.
And that's been the pace since the start, right? The double AWP is out for Lil Mix, and this is where they want to be able to contend and contest with these rounds. And with the full buy in hand, this is where you need your shutdown moment on the CT side. Otherwise, this will go 13, 14 to 8. And SG Pro will be on the home straight before they really even are challenged on this T side. Incendiary is going to split the forces, but Scimitar straight through. And Isaac, now he takes that back approach, but it's only one for his troubles before falling away and down. Keezer's got the AWP towards heaven. That isn't going to spot anybody out momentarily. Bomb away, and Keezer does find the frag. Puts down the smoke as well as Rufire wants to take the flank. It's Keezer to keep this angle posted. There are no nades for his position. They could have tossed that one in and done a smattering of damage. And with the Scimitar eliminated and this heaven position taken, Keezer is just going to sit, lie in wait. He is not worried about the second frag coming through. Sved knows that he's still playing here, and it's further shots inwards. There's not the shot. It's going to be the final frag for him before the defuse comes through. Last possible second. BQ Barbecue.
I'm not sure how that would have worked. If he'd have died just a second earlier there, I think they definitely would have had time to get on that bomb after the Molotov had dissipated. But a valiant attempt there from Keezer just to try and get that one done. 12-9, a big round for Lil Mix to take. That one started to look a little bit touch and go once it got into that retake scenario, but they do play it flawlessly. Lil Mix, they still need to close 3 more, but they need to face up against another full buy here in the 20 seconds to initiate it.
Yeah, and this will be a fast one and gun setup. Fame leading the charge, and you see that confidence from SG Pro. It's just outlasting this Lil Mix side in every single account. And, well, 1 minute 25 left to play with, and already the A-bomb site practically taken against the double AWPs. You need to put somebody towards Ivy, perhaps, in front of those smokes to try and catch players on the cross. But Lil Mix, this setup is definitely porous, especially on this A-bomb site where SG Pro, they're just lying in wait. Bodemaster with 1, that's right through the smoke. And Isaac up close and personal as well as they try and collapse on these corners. There's the trade, smoke away. And this bomb, remember, still hasn't gone down. So with Sved holding up the line, he's going to check the angle against Fame, and he's also going to fall. Just the AWP remains. And with 50 seconds remaining, that is Bodemaster to find that final pickup. It's Lil Mix, finally double digits.
Well, on train, you have so many little tricky angles, and you do often, from our perspective, expect them to go unchecked. But in these rounds, Lil Mix seem to just be clearing out everything, and they seem to be hard clearing it as well, pre-firing many of these corners, really coming out on top quite nicely in that last round, and should be allowed a freebie here in the 23rd, which would be a nice chance for them to get back to within 1 of taking this one back to task. And Isaac, well, gets nice and aggressive, does find himself at first. I'm sure he'd hoped for more, and instead, well, I was expecting him to fall away. Instead, he actually does press further for it, and he's going to get himself a 3k, make that 4 to finish things off. Nice clean round from him, and a clean one for Lil Mix.
Yeah, very convincing, all things considered. And I think the real fear here for SG Pro is with Fame and Senator finding the lion's share of the frags on this T side, who is going to step up in their absence if they start to fall apart? Lil Mix, they've got all 5 players. You see those kills are quite close together. BQ maybe just lagging behind, not even close to double digits just yet. 1 minute 45 to play with. Start of this 24th.
Nice opening shot from Bodemaster. He's been pretty strong with that AWP throughout this one so far. With that smoke going up, means that Fame can't even return the favor. Just a completely untradeable opening frag, and, well, there's a second. Sved takes that A main control. Deep smoke goes in there too, and they can just take all of this leg room and take all of these gunfights and make sure that there's no trade potential whatsoever.
No, there isn't, and that's going to force them back to the brine halls with that C4 and Roofire's hand. The smokes are away. There's a total stalemate.
Minute left on this clock, and it's very much looking like SG Pro might want to try and head over towards this B bomb site. They've really not had a lot of luck on A, but the issue is that Counter-Strike really does become a numbers game at this point. How they managed to get back into this one is just unknown at the moment. They absolutely need to hit all of these headshots, and so far it's just not happening. Bodenmaster, the man that found those openers towards Ivy at the very start, still causing havoc, this time on the other side of the map.
And another kill going Lil Mix's way. This one looks all wrapped up. They might not even find a frag on the SG Pro side, and that seems to just be a massive lack of pace. As the score goes level, this is what that massive scoreline at the start for Lil Mix has really meant. And there's the first tactical timeout as a response. What would you be talking about here?
Well, I can still hear what Rufire is talking about, but obviously it's still in Russian, so I can't translate it.
You should translate. No, you should just say it as he's saying it.
No, I'm not even going to attempt it. He's talking very quick. He sounds very serious. He's like, come on, guys.
Well, they are serious. This is obviously a single elimination bracket. They can be knocked out at any point.
Yeah, exactly. And this would be a really big map for them to take as well. Of course, it's Lil Mix's pick. And yeah, if they can actually snatch this one away, they'd be in a really good position to take this series 2-0. And yeah, but have a really good start going forward. But if they do let this train map slip away, which I'm sure they'll be frustrated in doing so, then they really, really do have to fight hard on Vertigo. Right now, just with these Deagles to work with, might be Lil Mix taking the lead once again, unless one of these players can start to hit some shots.
Yeah, they certainly have to. Holding the line, and SG Pro want to make their way into this one. If they can nail a 1D, then perhaps they can get at least a bomb down closer to this site. With the smokes placed, that should be able to grant them a freebie, but where is that C4? It's being wrapped in ever so late. And with Lincoln, oh, he's holding the angle, and, well, fast to fall. It's still with a minute 10 remaining. SG Pro just holding up the line, but I think Lil Mix are doing fine in this one. It's the AWP to fall, though, and the other Desert Eagles can't actually find the damage. They know exactly where Kisa's playing from. He does get himself through the smoke, and I think that they're mighty aware that this is happening. Ooh. Sved goes for it, and while the defuse has already happened, he does drop with the AWP, so no save potential.
That's a pretty big round from SG Pro, though. Of course, they did only have the Deagles to work with. It was a bit of an eco, so to find 3 frags and that bomb plant gives them plenty of cash here, and this is the round where they really do need it. However, they also really do need to win this round. If this one doesn't convert, they're going to have some serious problems. Lil Mix might even be able to get themselves onto map point here on trade. But these rifles absolutely need to prevail. Minute 40 ticking away on this clock. That's how much time they have to make something work.
And just playing this one as slow as they come. AK-47 primed and ready, but Little Mix an aggressive stance with the AWP and M4 configuration. Is Bodenmaster to take the initial peek? And surely shoulder spotted. No, one, but not quite done. Throws the incendiary to keep his place inside of the heaven, and he might be the guardian angel of this B bomb site. Falls, there's the second incend, and the nade as well. The utility have kept SG Pro at bay. They found the frag regardless, and that is just even trading.
Still this double AWP setup in play for Lil Mix, though. If SG Pro do decide to press on to a site, they've still got plenty of utility to do so, and they could really eliminate these AWPs. As soon as you put a smoke in front of one of them, then you've either forced them right back and actually force them to reposition, or you can use that to your advantage and have a close range fight with them where the rifles will almost certainly prevail. Sven at long range has to try and take these fights, does a lot of damage, can't find the kills, finally gets one through the smoke. And Lil Mix, they are finding all of the necessary kills here and might just be able to finish this one off.
Yeah, feels like Quicks as well is just finding everything with those AWPs. It's still a 2 versus 2 scenario, but clock ticking away, and Fame now needs to get this bomb down, but everybody is here on the B bomb site, on the A bomb site, I should say. And there goes the swing. Keyser still low on time, but no, not low on HP. Is now since Bodenmaster takes the peak, and Lil Mix just a couple of rounds away from closing this one through.
That's an audacious one from Boden right at the end there in that 1 versus 1. I was expecting him to wait for the bomb plant, but instead just swings right out. And I think just expects his opponent to be a little bit confused. And Keyser absolutely was. Trying to find the bomb, bit frantic, few seconds left on the clock. And he's able to just snatch it away. Quick terrorist timeout for SG Pro as, well, they're talking again about what they can get done here. But this is starting to slip away. They had a really, really good foothold early on in this second half. And now, not so much.
No, not so much whatsoever. And I think that's what's really difficult about this is on the T side, yes, even if you find those first couple of rounds, it's really easy for the CTs to actually have to shut down whilst they've got rifles in hand. That's what's happened in this scenario. And even in these single AWP opportunities, which we're in now for Little Mix, they've looked entirely confident. Bodenmaster has really been putting up some decent frags, along with Isaac and Quicks, to be perfectly honest. You've got that core trio in the middle to actually do the damage. Smokes placed. And SG Pro are just going to wait.
Much, much slower stuff. Of course, no one wants to be the man to make this mistake this time around. At AWP in the hands of Boden. No AWP available for this SG Pro side, and Boden are going to open up proceedings once again.
Here comes the peak. It's Isaac to miss those initial shots. Still a man advantage for Lil Mix. Make that 2 as the bomb goes down. Senator's able to trade it back, though. Is this B bomb site now in contention? The Org better at long range, but certainly not against Keyser. He's got the shot all lock and key. They know that Senator's playing up close and personal. He might be primed and ready for the AWP. Bodenmaster, angle established. There goes the nade as well. It won't be successful, but that shot will. Out in the open, the Orc falls and flails, and it's SG Pro staying in the game again.
I just don't know how they keep this one afloat. Of course, a real deficit there, a real lack of weaponry to work with, and they somehow keep it within 1. Lil Mix, they've gone for a mismatch. In fact, it's a mismatch on both sides. There's a Galil in play for Roofire, that FAMAS on BQ. Both teams desperately fighting, and whoever comes out on top in this one might be the one to finish off the job, as they've both got no money in the bank. This is all to play for here in the closing rounds of trade.
And remember, SG Pro, yes, they've got a little bit of loss bonus, but that probably won't push them over the top going into round number 30 as well. Obviously, a couple of rounds to play off the back of that, and maybe their money might be a little more buoyant as a response, but not if Fame finds the shot. BQ's the next in line for a beating. As the A bomb site crumbles, SG Pro, it's this speed doing them justice. As soon as they get out of A main, it feels like Little Mix cannot contend as they go up close and personal. Isaac's fed. They're not going to have any chance at this retake, so they have to save the rifle SMG combo instead.
Yeah, this is where it starts to get dangerous, especially where they've only got that SMG. I think Sved might even go hunting for a better weapon. I'm trying to work out where they're dropped. Maybe that's not even viable at all. Maybe he does actually just have to save that MP9 into the next, which really does cause problems, because if you think about the bank account of Lil Mix right now, they're going to have like a couple of $1,000s on each player going into this next round. They really won't be in a position where they can force all too much into it. And maybe they do actually just go for a bit of an eco and allow S Gaming onto that match point, then play for the overtime. I'm not too sure. I think that it could be a huge mistake to go for a buy right now.
Yeah, it certainly could be. They are enforced by territory, but realistically, if they do, that puts them in a real sticky situation. I wouldn't be surprised if they took a tactical timeout to discuss it. And well, there it comes, but it is from SG Pro. They want to close this one out right now. They don't want to run any risk of going towards OT. And BQ, even investing into a Desert Eagle, puts him at a disadvantage going into round number 30. Obviously, it's going to get there. We've got at least 2 rounds to be played.
Well, we might be seeing another map 1 overtime, and if history repeats itself, then SG Gaming might be able to snatch it away, take their opponent's map pick, and then we might be in for a quick series, but we'll have to wait and see. Lil Mix, they've certainly looked strong here on Train, but it seems that they've been stronger on that attacking side than on the defensive, which is something that you don't see all too often. They are going to opt for this eco here in the 29th, so they will be allowing SG Pro on to match point more than likely. Only 2 weapons for them to work with to try and contend this one. And SG Pro, double AWP setup, the rifles, the utility, they're sparing no expense to try and close this one out.
They're certainly not, and obviously they've got all to play for. They want to close this out sooner rather than later, and with Little Mix playing this sort of half-buy setup, this obviously gives them enough money to go for the investment in the 30th, but gives them a little bit of equity in this one as well. SMG primed and ready, sped up close and personal, and Fame just sat around the angle. This is a game of chicken, Josh. Who peaks first? That's the big question. I don't think either man wants to take the corner knowing that, well, somebody can just be watching and waiting. It doesn't even have to be an SMG. It could be any weapon. Even the Desert Eagle up close is brutal. It's deadly. If they can challenge the USPS Deagle combination on the B-bomb site, then that is obviously the break even here where this site becomes a lot easier to take. Up towards the ladder room, it's, well, Roofire to find the headshot, and even with a taser in hand, we've seen so many tasers in these qualifiers. We casted the Malta National League, of course, and we saw more tasers than an American police school.
Oh, that's a good analogy. But yeah, we did see tons and tons of wacky plays. We saw XMs, we saw tasers, we saw the absolute lot. Here, the stakes are much higher. There's a hell of a lot more to play for. BQ, very dangerous position. But of course, he's not warranted any more than just that single frag. It was only a lurk, a bamboozle at the best. And, well, SG Pro, they're able to get onto that A-bomb site, get that C4 planted. And BQ, it is save time. He really can't afford to go for this one and lose this AUG. So he's going to try and carry it across into the next. Maybe even do some more damage here. I'm not too sure. Of course, he's only got $1,500 behind him. So he could actually really do with holding on to this rifle so that he doesn't have to reinvest into the last.
Yeah, sometimes attack is the best defense, but not at this point. He's surely going to go down here to Fame, and there's their headshot to convert it. The AUG, he's just working out if anybody wants that particular weapon, and it gets communicated through and thrown back over to Sinator. He's on 27 frags, of course. You're going to be giving priority to those AUGs at every single approach. And SG Pro, that's their 4th out of all 4 timeouts taken. I really like this approach, Josh. I don't think they get any extra for OT if it goes there, but they want to discuss all of these rounds before they get into the action, and that has been benefiting them.
Absolutely. And I've mentioned it a couple of times, okay, and it's still just a bug that I can't seem to fix, even if I mute him, okay? But I can hear, like Roofire is such a vocal captain, regardless of the fact that I can't translate what he's saying, calling all of these timeouts. And he has actually constantly been talking for the entirety of this map. Like he has not stopped talking, and it's just constant, like, as I say, I don't know what he's saying, but these timeouts coming through, he has this opportunity to talk to his team. Whatever he's saying, it seems to be working out very, very well. And Lil Mix right now here in the 30th have very little utility to work with. They've opted for that heavy rifle setup rather than the utility, and that might be their demise.
Well, at least if SG Pro do get knocked out of this tournament, there might be a second career as a Counter-Strike commentator for Roofire. If he loves talking so much, it's 15-14 and all to play for going into round number 30. An aggressive stance once again for Sved. And once more we play this game of chicken, Josh, where neither player wants to go for the peak. Sved, yes, he's got the angle, and he will finally be going in for this swing. But this angle is literally as close as you can possibly go without actually taking the swing. It's Sinator to peak first, and Sved's obviously going to connect the shot. He can backtrack with no trade potential.
It's a nice off angle. Even when you do give up that A main control, you certainly don't expect someone to be on an angle like that. It's a real bizarre one. And Fame right now has managed to wriggle his way through Ivy. I'm not even sure if Isaac knows it. Of course, that smoke posted that Molotov there as well. He's got himself in a really dangerous position, and Bodemaster is looking the wrong way. It is a 1-for-1 trade, but as Kiza finds one more, this could all fall apart. This could end right here.
35 seconds left to play with as well, and they're actually creeping and crawling through. Not aware of the CT spawn, but with Rufire finding another one, it's the Famous to try and do the damage. Stolen AWP for Quicks, and now he has to do the job all on his lonesome. 2 shots required to get them to overtime, and with this bomb going down, Rufire in the open, he makes the cross before, and Quicks now know where everybody is. Out in the open once more, Rufire wants to take the shot, and it's the captain to try and close, as Quick seems to have all of the information, and we're going to overtime.
What a time to step up and make a 2 versus 1 like that. You really, really cannot fault your captain when he is making plays that keep you alive. It's overtime once again, the second of the day already. And I really wasn't expecting Lil Mix to be able to pull it out, to be honest. I was really expecting this one to end 16-14.
Yeah, especially when you get into that 1 versus 2 situation where it looks all over. How many players actually have the cojones to pull something like that off? It's Quicks, of course, 15-15, and that's the second OT that we've already seen in this wild card, and that's not even taking into account what might have been happening over on the B stream in the meantime. It's 15-15 and all to play for here with $10,000 per player.
Well, an AWP coming out on both sides. You talked about why we didn't see that on Inferno. Obviously, MMR 10k, so in fact, MMR 310k, so they really don't have a lot of money behind them. If this AWP investment doesn't work out, which it's inevitably not going to work out for one side, in that third and final round of the half, they're not going to have a whole lot of cash to work with. A faster approach towards A as SG Pro. Oh, they absolutely dominate pushing out on this side.
Yeah, they trade evenly right at the start, and the AWP, it's such a crucial investment on a map like Train. Finds at least one before Keys is able to swing it right back in their favor. The A site lies in contention, and this is where they have to get the bomb down. Sped, though, he gets caught in the side, and that's Rufire. Just such an aggressive position, and you can see the confidence oozing right off of him right now. The shot's underneath, and well, 55 seconds left to play with. Shouldn't be too impactful, as that Molotov is actually going to force the bomb back in passive. And Rufire took a little bit of damage in rotation and translation as well. So as Isaac tries to take the corner, this is a 1 versus 3 and entirely possible. Rufire, it's deja vu for him. As Isaac has the angle under contention, needs to spot this angle, and Rufire's actually gone back towards Ivy, playing as passive as they come, as Isaac doesn't spot the position, and Rufire, oh, 1 shot, needs to backtrack. Isaac's got the kit as well, so time pressure surely applied by that C4 ticking fast, but with Rufire in the open, that might have actually just done it. That mistake, that is such a massive error.
That absolutely is. That is a huge, huge mistake, and he is not going to be happy about it. In fact, I can tell you right now, he's not happy about it. 16-15 for Lil Mix. Another big 1 versus 1 clutch just tipping their way, and this really just proves whoever actually comes out on top in this matchup, it's not decisive, it's not dominant in any way. This certainly could have gone to either side, purely down to the fact that we've seen so many 1 versus 1 situations that, yeah, just really do come down to minute factors.
And in overtime as well, could it be any more impactful? Obviously, a 14-15 clutch, a 1 versus 2 to keep them in the game, and then a 1 versus 3 clutch to put them in the lead.
Still this double AWP setup in play. Quicks. No money behind it, though. Of course, everyone's had to reinvest here, so there's really not a lot of cash to go around. The third of this overtime half could be a poor one for one of these sides. All depends on who comes out on top. SG Pro, they've definitely been better at finding these initial frags, getting this C4 down. It all comes down to these post plants where they're making the major mistakes. It's normally the other way round. They need to make sure they patch that, otherwise it might just cost them this one.
Get the cement out, try and fill up the holes. 45 seconds left in SG Pro. They've been playing way more passive this time. No aggressive peaks as of yet, and Sved, he's been given pop dog control as a result. That allows the second man to go over towards the B bomb site before the wrap comes in towards A. It's 30 seconds now on the clock. SG Pro letting this one tick down. There's a lack of utility for the CTs. They've thrown most of it already. No smokes to play with, but BQ's got the angle, but no follow-up. Senator there with the trade. Now only 20 seconds remaining as Bonamaster right between the pack finds that second shot. It's a headshot onto Fame to try and get the job done. Right over the top, there's a no-scope, and that's unbelievable as Sved comes in from the rear for 17.
That's what I love about Bodemaster as well. Just the way he plays that AWP. He can be so hyper-aggressive and so super confident in scenarios like that too, where he needs to take those fights. Instead of just being posted on the bomb site over towards Ivy, maybe in connector, he gets himself over to E-box with that orb. He takes the close fights. He goes for the no-scopes. And when he hits them, it's sensational. 17 on the board for Little Mix. They're on for a flawless first overtime half here. And we might be seeing a repeat of what happened earlier.
Pro, that's got to have a big mentality issue. We talked about how much Rooffire is actually doing the talking here in the serve right now as the captain, and his ability to rally the troops might actually fall the other way. 17-15 in Lil Mix. They're one away from that flawless half, as you mentioned. It's Kiza with the AWP. No team obviously struggling for money, but the trades again, and it's shaping up to be another close performance as BQ drops.
Well, the man advantage for SG Pro, but we've certainly seen in the last few rounds that doesn't mean a whole lot. They definitely seem to be struggling to close in these final scenarios, and as Lil Mix have got a very solid three-man triangle defense on this A site, it's going to be very, very difficult to breach. Senator's going to drop, and the real lifeline that they have is this flank coming round from B. And it does work out for them quite nicely. Isaac, the only man standing. No point in saving at this point. Has to go for the 1-on-3, but I'm not too confident in his ability to clutch it.
No, I wouldn't have been either if I hadn't seen those back-to-back clutches earlier. Fame wants to end any chance of that happening, and absolutely does with the stunning headshot. 17-16, close half, but the CT's coming out on top. Obviously gives yourself an inherent advantage. If they can find two on this T side, it's GG's.
Yeah, only 2 rounds needed for Lil Mix right now. SG Pro need a flawless CT half. And I'm not too sure what to think of their CT side. It was very, very weak early on in the game. We did see 5 rounds in a row where they pulled off a bit of a masterclass. And it was actually with that triple AWP setup. So as they opt for it once again here, something that you don't see all too often, but definitely something you can justify. Probably Train being the only map that you can justify it. Nice bit of coordinated aggression early on as well with that Molotov. Just gives them an opportunity to feel around, get into A main, try and isolate some fights. And Senator's going to be the first man to open things up onto Bowden towards Ivy.
And that's one of the first times this map that he's actually found that opening frag towards Ivy. The rest of the time it's been Little Mix getting the effective trace towards this side of the equation. And Senator's still alive as well, full HP. Gives himself a real opportunity to have massive impact into the latter round also. Smoke's placed and Little Mix just waiting for them to dissipate before now creeping closer to challenge this sniper rifle. You've got this stalemate towards Pop Dog in the meantime, and Senator can just hold this angle, forced back by the Molotov momentarily, and doesn't need to take an aggressive swing. They've got plenty of AWPs to take these angles instead. Another flashbang, the utility working out perfectly. And maybe this is somewhat of a read. BQ finally a trade, but he has to go for this cross. Doesn't get countered, doesn't get punished. That's incredibly lucky, as now they're trying to isolate and execute on the B bomb site. Smokes away, and Kiza, this is where his job gets more difficult as the AWPer. As the nades connect, that is such massive impact and might allow this bomb to go through on the B bomb site. There's no saving. Money doesn't matter. It's only the rounds in the equation. And with BQ getting aggro, he could even find another shot here against the AWP. He's going to drop. And what a round from Little Mix.
Oh, they pick it up absolutely beautifully right at the end there when you think it's all falling apart. SG Pro, they just crumble. Lil Mix now 1 away from finishing off this job. They have 2 match points, and I wouldn't have expected it after SG Pro were 15-14 up. They should just be able to close here. They're up against this double orb setup, but they've got Quicks wielding one of their own, and they've got all of the riflers hitting all of the headshots here early.
And 2 players for SG Pro, Fame and Senator, have a lack of utility already in the round. Senator literally doesn't have anything else to work with apart from the weapon in his hands. And, Molotov's going down. Little Mix, I want to play this slowly and just get an advantage based off the utility. firebombing those nades in to do the initial damage onto Kiza, but he does far more with a sniper. Quick shot inwards, wants to take the second approach, but with a flash bouncing the wrong way, I don't think he's going to want to go into this one. However, he can just back off to this A bomb site.
Does really feel like Boden hasn't had as much success with that T-sided AWP. That's a big mistake. Isaac is burnt in his own fire. But it is for the greater good. It does force that CT back. It allows Quicks to get in and find that kill. However, man advantage still in SG Pro's favour. And with 40 seconds on this clock, this time pressure starting to mount, Lil Mix need to make a move.
And it feels like SG Pro are just lining up the angles, not playing that aggressive stance, obviously just going back to basics here on Train, playing it how it was meant to be played, leaving just Quicks here to go down last. It's SG Pro, one away from taking us to double OT. Be even longer than that first map that we saw in this day.
Well, we might be going to double OT, you're right. SG Pro definitely looking strong here. Double up setup once again. And that last round was almost flawless. They kept floor players alive. Utility all round on every single man. Even Azus coming out on DeRay once again. This time, quicker stuff from Lil Mix. Getting down Pop Dog early. Wants to try and take these fights straight off the bat. With these smokes posted, keep them at an arm's length. SG Pro. They can take all of the aggressive positions that they want, and they can continue to bombard their opponents with utility before they even get to see them.
And we have to remember that this is a high-pressure scenario. SG Pro, this game can close at any moment now. Rooffire aggressive angle. If he goes down, then the whole A-bomb site might fall with him. And Isaac has a perfect punishment angle. And there's the instant one-tap to take him away. Quick closer. And SG Pro down to their last lifelines in this initial map. Fame's going to bring it back with a headshot of his own. And there is a gap in that smoke. If Sved decides to peek it without checking his angles, there's every opportunity that Senator can spray him right through. Angle posted. Molotov as well to force him out of position.
The Molotov is absolutely perfect to just eliminate the threat of that gap in the smoke, but unable to convert that kill means that Senator gets away scot-free. Kiza finds himself one in the meantime. Three-man single-pronged attack from Ivy. They need to push through. They need to hit all of the headshots, and so far they're doing so nicely. DeRay on the site needs to convert, does exactly that. Needs to find one more to really solidify this one, and Boden denies it. This is very much looking like Lil Mix might be able to close, and they absolutely do. 19-17. It couldn't have been closer, but they just about finish off the job.
And just such a sensational performance all around, to be perfectly honest. I think that coming that close as well, you've got to have a lot of pushing power in a series like this. We spoke about it in the first map, obviously, going all the way to overtime and really feeling good about yourselves going on to that secondary performance. I think that both teams incredibly close there. How is SG Pro's confidence going to be affected by this result? I'm sure that we'll find out after the break as we go to their map pick.
Had SG Pro taken that first map of Train, and if they'd have taken it in regulation as well, then I would have been confident in their abilities to close out Vertigo, take this one in a 2-0 fashion. However, with Little Mix taking it, they come into this map, they've got some momentum, they previously have a good track record here on Vertigo too. I think that there's a really good opportunity for them to snatch this one away because they'll be feeling good. I think SG Gaming right now will be not feeling too great about this series. They really have to work hard to get it back, and it's an absolute bloodbath on ramp to open things up.
And BQ able to trade 3 back. How does he find that tertiary headshot there? There's a pair of USPSs for both of the terrorists, and now becomes possible. They only have to hit 1 body shot onto BQ, and with this flank coming through, roof fire might be the best angle for the job, and that denies the plant. SG Pro, they do survive despite those 3 opening BQ picks.
That was very, very scary. That got pretty touch and go pretty quickly. Here in round number 2, though, is going to be a full investment here from Lil Mix. They want to try and bounce back. Obviously, we've seen in the last map how quickly the tides can turn, especially in a second round like this. Very, very capable players with those deagles in hand. They become very dangerous. Senator up close and personal, though, with this MP9 towards ramp could certainly cause complications. And as Isaac wants to try and push through it, surely he falls here.
Yeah, there's every opportunity. You want to use those SMGs as close as you possibly can and try and catch 1 or 2 players from Little Mix off guard. If you can find both of those frags, then obviously you're going to be just making money, printing it, in fact. Pretty even damage traded, though, from both sides. And Little Mix, I think they'll be heading back towards mid/ this B bomb site with that pressure already established.
4v4, pretty even Stevens playing field as Fame and BQ both 1 bullet away from death. But Lil Mix, they seem to have gambled correctly. Heading over towards this B site, pretty uncontested. It's only DeRay to try and hold up the line. He has got himself a good angle with that AUG in hand too, but it only takes 1 bullet from that Deagle to eliminate him, and a bit of damage dealt, but he's still spraying away, shutting this one down and buying enough time for the rotations, and this should just be a clean hold.
And Rufai does actually drop there, so an opportunity for the bomb to go down, and it looks like Quicks wants to go elsewhere. He's forced to rotate. This is a beautiful fake onto the A bomb site. If you can make this quick, the issue with Vertigo, though, Josh, is you make sound cues if you make much noise. If you don't, you're going to move incredibly slowly back to this A bomb site. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. And they're going to push peak, realize what's going on. And as the nade occurs, that bomb will very easily go down here. And it does seem like Quicks actually has an opportunity to get the job done. Watching towards ramp, he's expecting a flank, and it's from Fame. He's got the shot instantly, and maybe expectant of a second man. It is the MP9 that taps the bomb to try and force him into the open. Advanced position, and Kiza finds it.
Oh, it's so close once again. These rounds really coming down to the wire. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if Lil Mix maybe do go for another force here. I know that that's something that would be bizarre and certainly not something that most teams would advise at a time like this. But considering they've had back-to-back rounds coming down to the wire like that, maybe it is something that they just go for. And oh, maybe that is the case. AK being dropped over, and yeah, they are going to go for an investment into this one. They do fancy their chances. However, SG Pro, they've gone for a double AWP setup early. This is mental.
Exactly, and that's what this game's all about. That back and forth, Little Mix. They don't want to concede at the start of any of these maps, and we've seen that through the pace of all of today. 100 seconds left to play, and Little Mix, it makes more sense on the terrorist side, remember. If you can find a round like this, then there's every opportunity that you pull it back, but that is a lightning fast shot, just using the crack above that box.
Only seeing a very, very small portion of Sved there, but it's enough to connect the AWP shot. Senator, nice little jump spot, confirms that there is a player over towards ramp, and he can just fall back and relay that information. He doesn't even need to take the fight. Of course, they have this man advantage. They really don't want to lose it. Spam through the wood does actually do a little bit of damage, but does also confirm to Senator that there are now 2 defenders over towards this ramp, and he can start to aggress, try and find himself some kills, but he's only good for 1.
And now I think that Bo3 should probably switch back to an AK-47. There's one dropped on the floor, but more headshots go Lil Mix's way. And this one now looks very possible, and Bo3 might as well just keep what he's earned. Shots through the smoke. There's the connection, though, from Quicks. He knows those angles like the back of his hand, and it's a fast frag to find, leaving Dire a 1 versus 3 to achieve. And there's Quicks just to finish off the job. AWP to go towards Little Mix's favor. And it's all down to Quicks at the first couple of rounds of this one. He's 6-2.
Really, really fantastic work there from Lil Mix. And that reforce does really pay off for them, especially considering SG Pro actually went for a full reinvestment. They went for the rifles. They went for that double AWP setup in that round. And it really, really did cost them. Rufire getting aggressive might actually be able to wriggle his way into the back lines and find himself 1 or 2 kills here. That's if he does go completely unchecked, and he's in here quick, so maybe he does. Nope, Swed's wise to it.
Yeah, he knows that those flanks are going to be happening, especially in a round like this where SG Pro probably don't have a full buy. This will just be the force instead, and obviously Svedi's far too good to fall foul of a little peak like that. Gray doesn't connect, actually, to find that tertiary kill, but this looks like an all wrapped up round, and the scoreline, that'll result of it. 2-2, Little Mix. They're putting up a place today in the European Development Championship wildcard games. Obviously wanting to close this one out 2-0. And we're all brought to you by Gaming Malta. It's the home of gaming excellence.
Well, only 2 Deagles remaining. SG Pro not looking like they're having fun here in round number 4. Of course, this was actually a full buy from them, but it was only the Deagles. And Sved, he's going to finish off the job quite nicely. Laser precise shot right through that door. And that is going to be the score. Level pegging, 2-2. You got to remember, SG Gaming, they're on the edge of a ledge right now. And if they fall off of it, they are out of this wild card. Lil Mix, they're a map ahead. And if they can take Vertigo, they're through to the next round.
This is a full eco as well, so Little Mix will creep ahead in the scoreline here after that force buy doesn't pan out successfully. Here comes the aggression, though. But on Vertigo, it should be telegraphed. You see BQ very, very aware and should be able to just finish off the rest as well as a result. Quick headshots and a very speedy round, all things considered. Only the rain remains. Drops the AWP, it will be retrieved. Only 1 rifle drops.
This isn't matchmaking, remember. You can't rely on your opponents not having headsets. That's often my strategy. You go, this guy probably doesn't have a headset. I'm just going to run. Here, they're all hyper aware. You make the slightest sound cue.
I rely on my opponents not having a head. I'm playing matchmaking.
Most of the time they don't, do they?
Not when I shoot them.
Oh. Wow. His AWP fight towards ramp, always a really difficult one, just through that slither. But Sinator, he one-ups it right through the smoke. That's going to be that opening kill for SG Pro. Very nice start here in the 6th.
Yeah, and such a speedy start as well in a lot of these rounds for Lil Mix. You want to get those aggressive picks on that T side. There is a claim to be made that you want to play this map fairly slowly and maybe just speed things up towards the A-bomb site where needed. I think Lil Mix are probably expecting a 4-1 setup here, or maybe a 3-1-1 setup with the majority of the stack towards the A-bomb site. We see it's only Sinator and Fame holding things at bay. Smokes go down. That isolates the second defender into Ray with that secondary sliding shot. But the rotate's already happened. They're going towards the A-bomb site. They've completely caught the flank off guard. The rotate will obviously come through, but Lil Mix, they're going to double back. This is the fake of all fakes.
They've got the man advantage to play with as well. As they wrap back round to this B site. Oh no, DeRay's right in the corner. And he's able to completely shut it down. Does come back into a 2 versus 1. So still in Little Mix's favour here. But Kiza in the back lines surely goes unchecked. Probably good for at least 1 here. And then he can isolate that into that one-on-one scenario.
And this is where the element of surprise is absolutely paramount. He needs to catch the third player off guard, but Sved, he seems to be aware on all of these peaks, doesn't he? 3 quick kills in that round as well. And, well, he is not quite leading the charge. That's BQ 9-3, but he's at least got 6 so far. And back-to-back triple kills, really stepping up here in this series. And Little Mix is definitely putting them ahead.
It absolutely is. BQ as well, one of the men really stepping up.
You could say, Josh, that he's putting them as fed.
Ho. He is putting them as fed indeed. Quicks right now, I'm really not sure why he's still down to this Mac 10. I suppose in a round like this, he probably can read the opponent's economy and justify just sticking with it. Maybe he'll upgrade in the next. You do definitely expect him to have something like an AK. Nice little boost here from SG Pro, though. Might catch someone off guard if Sved does decide to aggress. For now, though, doesn't need to. Quicks' position's perfect. He can wrap all the way around the back and eliminate it before it becomes a problem.
And this is where Little Mix are just going to charge ahead in the scores. 5-2. Ooh. Lovely sliding shots from Senator in the meantime. He's more of a Minotaur, and I think it's going to take only Theseus to take him down. 50 seconds remaining. There's the AK-47 in hand, but as the bomb goes down, he's in no man's land, locked in the labyrinth, and it will be a fifth wrapped up for Little Mix.
Yeah, I don't think Senator can even really justify going for this one. He has no kit in hand. Hoping that he can maybe catch someone out, and it's not going to happen. He is actually checking all the corners in mid, but he doesn't check the one he needs to. That's where BQ is lingering, and Lil Mix pull ahead even further. 5-2 right now. It is going to be another full buy from SG Pro. They are going to have that double AWP setup to work with. They have really been prioritizing and favoring these multiple AWP setups, which is something that you actually don't see all too often, but it's something that you can really justify doing when you do have several confident AWPers on your side, which I think is a big bonus.
BQ is leading the charge. BQ is also the way that a Swedish person would pronounce PQ.
Is it?
BQ.
BQ.
Hi, BQ. I thought that was a fabulous joke, to be honest.
It was. I have plenty of Swedish friends, and I can hear it. I can just imagine. I can imagine my friend Noel saying,
"Yeah,
BQ." Yeah. All right, fine. I'll let you have that one.
Well, balls on the doors, 5-2. SG Pro looking to take this one back with a triple man defense over towards the A-bomb site. The nades go down upon ramp, and Fame, that's actually just a straight wall bang. It only gets traded once before Fame finds the second. He was right in behind as well, and that scaffolding area is so powerful, especially when you can creep in the lurks and in the midst of these Little Mix members. It's BQ just to, well, try and flank here, and there is the first. Keys are instantly traced behind the sandbags. You need a Molotov to counter that, but when you're not going for the peak, it doesn't entirely make sense. Sved now over towards the B bomb site to try and catch off Senator, but the double AWPs prevail.
Well, I feel like it's really one of the first times that that's actually properly worked out for them. Seems to cause them more bad than good. Round number 9, though, Lil Mix, still plenty of money in the bank. I mean, they've actually got masses of cash behind them. They can still go for another full investment in the next, even if they do lose this one. But they are definitely looking to win it. If they do so, they reset the economy of their opponents once again, and they'll probably be able to put themselves on to 7. So, good opportunity to really snatch this one away. As Fame starting to get aggressive over towards ramp. Does have a gap in that smoke. Spots out a man, but can't connect anything off of it. Can't even take the shots.
No, he certainly can, just because he's got no visual healer, and with Bodenmaster just leaping, bounding, jumping, there's no way for him to get caught out by anybody other than one of the AWPs. And SG Pro aren't playing these AWPs too aggressively. We saw that as their main mistake earlier on Train, that they were just playing way too aggro. If you take the first half 7-8 and don't close out the map, that is basically just a catastrophe there. You're expecting Little Mix to really feel confident coming into this second map, and they've carried through with somewhat of a second wind. Isaac only one frag against Rooffires too. He's been trading in between both bomb sites, and through that smoke, DeRay falls, and Little Mix now given a free open avenue of approach, and the AWP whiffing as well. SG Pro, they've got to concede here or charge in with the AWPs. It's such a costly investment, and they don't have the money behind them to lose this. They cannot afford to drop these AWPs, and with the first one dropping, sped through the smokes, hasn't been spotted, and Senator, that's a no-scope wall bang to finish.
Senator just seemed hyper aware there. Even when they thought that they saw him towards the back pillar, Senator knows exactly what's up. He knows that in that scenario, he's going to be playing close to the smoke, and he just adapts to it perfectly. That's something that you don't see from many other players, but he is just on it right now. Bizarre investment there with the scout. I actually don't know what this buy is. DeRay's got enough money behind him to buy an M4. So did Senator. Instead, there's 2 AWPs, a scout, and an over in play. I'm not sure what to expect from this one from SG Pro.
Well, these weapons are very pointy. Maybe they thought, let's go for the pointier weapons. The Dover actually finds that kill. That's actually quite startling behind the smoke. I don't think you're ever expecting to walk into a shotgun in a round like this, and it certainly caught Little Mix off guard. And how do you even deal with it as well? It's not like it's the easiest weapon to take away, but that is certainly a method. Takes him down with the HEs.
This is certainly shaping up to be a bizarre round. I'm really not sure what SG Pro are actually going for here. What a headshot straight through the wall. That's Sved to push out. 2 versus 2 situation as they get onto this site, and Sved thinning out the numbers further. DeRay all on his lonesome with a scout in hand. Probably wants to try and upgrade to that rifle over towards the boxes. Maybe he does just have to stick with this scout though.
Yeah, dropping that AWP will give away the sound cue, and knowing that Sved's on a tear, knows that he could very easily peek out off the back of that. There goes the scout, and well, the smoke as well to try and aid this defuse, but he wants to take 1 peek before actually going in for this one, and there it is, spotted out. The second Sved drops. What a 1v2 to achieve.
Ray's played it absolutely perfectly. Same certainly can't be said for Lil Mix. In a scenario like that, the double peek, it's not the worst thing in the world, but to allow him to isolate the double peek like that, I don't like it one bit. That's a round that Lil Mix really should have been able to take over the edge, especially off the back of Sved just going huge. And instead, SG Pro, they level out this scoreline, and they're back in the driver's seat. They've got the money to work with, and they might actually be able to take the lead here.
Exactly, and such a big performance. It feels like SG Pro, they're finally coming out on top of a lot of these clutches, which certainly wasn't the case on Train. We saw the 1v2, the 1v3, they were back-to-back, and certainly a reason why the SG Pro confidence crumbled.
Well, this time around, Lil Mix, they've found this man advantage once again, completely untraded too. So as they head over towards this A site, they will have this man advantage, and Kiza really needs to try and level it back out and get away with his life. And oh, I don't think he's going to be able to do either. Just about manages the latter. But with the low HP, it should be a clean take for Lil Mix.
How is he not dead right now? How is he not dead and still alive with the AWP as well? If Kiza steals away a kill here, that would be absolute daylight robbery. There's no way that this man should be alive. Obviously going for the headshot instead of thinking that 17 HP would be enough, but you miss every shot that you don't take, Josh, and that was perhaps an easier one. 5-5 as well, and SG Pro, they're keeping their opponents at an arm's length. And with the AWP primed and ready from Sved, we've been seeing them the majority of the time just hitting these headshots with the AK-47, so seeing them with the sniper rifle of choice. Instead, there's Fame eliminated. And still the low HP player in play, but Keys is able to take it away. And that was what I talked about earlier, the real threat of letting him stay alive. Now he is the only man remaining. Quicks almost falls off the map. He stays alive regardless as they take the round.
I actually love the Foon-esque play to fire off that shot, fall away, B-hopping. I actually have no idea how he doesn't get hit. That is incredible.
Could have died. Could have died.
Wow. Lil Mix very, very narrowly in the lead here. They might be able to extend it a little bit further as they are against 3 Deagles. They've just got to be careful. SG Pro have been really, really strong when they have just had these pistols in hand. Lil Mix. Well, they've got the rifles to work with, but they have to make sure that they trade each other, they complement each other. Otherwise, it's going to be problematic.
Yeah, with DeRay going for the swing, he hasn't incurred all too much damage yet. That's an easy frag to find. With the MP9, the only player going down, that's the middle of the map taken and puts additional pressure from SG Pro to rotate elsewhere. They probably want to go for this 2-2 setup. Maybe even putting the Desert Eagle towards the middle of the map, expecting Lil Mix to maybe burst off the back of that investment. Oh, Sved actually spotted that incredibly late. DeRay should have certainly taken him down, but it gives Sved an opportunity to rip apart his teammates too.
Yeah, that goes from being very, very close and, oh, wow, SG Pro might actually pull this one off to, oh, no, there's no chance. The only lifeline that Sinitar has right now is that all of the Little Mix players are actually spread all around this map, and he could isolate these two ramp players. So could connect a headshot here, or should be able to, but he's whiffed it. Opportunity there that he could have got that bomb down, maybe tried to work with that clutch, but instead completely whiffs. That is going to be 7 for Lil Mix, and more than likely an 8 here, as the SG gaming economy has no money in it whatsoever.
Yeah, and I want to see them go for the full eco right now. You see a couple of those Desert Eagles come through, and of course that loss bonus has been built up as of this point, but no real reason to go for all too much, and certainly no reason to stab your teammates.
Yeah, that is toxic. You don't want to be stabbing your teammates, even in a round like this. Oh no, Sved. Did he forget to pull the trigger? I think he did, but it's fine. He whips his Glock out. He's fine. He's fine.
Always good when you're in trouble. Whip your Glock out.
Oh.
You could leave me hanging? That wasn't a joke. That wasn't a joke.
Wasn't a joke. Yeah.
No, not a joke.
All right.
But yeah.
All right, I'll bear that in mind for the future. I'll get it put on a t-shirt.
This is a that would be a that would sell well, I think.
Yeah.
To be honest, this should be just a done deal. The bomb, very isolated towards the A bomb site, can easily go down here. Ray is the only saving grace, though. Might even be able to salvage both of these AK-47s into the next.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they don't have a kit, so there's no real way of them actually going for this, but they have managed to do a lot of damage, and bringing both of these AKs across into the next round would be pretty impactful for SG Pro. They really don't have a lot of money. Of course, they will be on a buy, but a couple of AKs will do a lot of favors for them. May even mean that Kiza can maybe drop it over to Fame and buy himself an AWP. In fact, he's found one, done one better. This is going to be the 8th, though, for Lil Mix, and I mean, that's really fantastic here on Vertigo, especially considering it's their opponent's map pick. They're a map up right now. They're doing really well to maintain composure.
Yeah, I think the one scary factor is they didn't do too good on their CT side of train, so there's every opportunity there that this could certainly fall back SG Pro's way, especially if they can take this to 6 or 7. That would be an acceptable, pretty much a 50-50 CT side. And coming into this tactical timeout, I think it is advantage Little Mix. I'm sure that our Paramatch odds would probably agree with that as well. Our friends over there obviously providing a lot of the odds for this tournament and, well, just showing us a benchmark of where a lot of these teams actually stand, to be perfectly honest with you. 8-5, I would say that Lil Mix would be the favourites to close out this map, and certainly the favourites to close out this series, considering we've got another one coming after.
Yeah, of course, the one straight after this, the Winstrike Project eversio matchup. Anyone from the Maltese scene that's tuning in, that's definitely the one to watch. But we've got to get through this one first. Round number 14, Lil Mix might be able to extend this half even further. And in doing so, I think that they'll be very, very happy. AWP in the hands of Bo3 Master. He's up close and personal. He needs to connect, though. 2 defenders on the other side of this smoke to work with. And Fame. Well, he's getting himself into a cheeky position.
Yeah, along with Sinitor as well, and they'll certainly flash themselves through. You see that backward smoke as well to just create an isolation play, but as it dissipates, you see just sticking around right there. Sved, he has such a powerful angle to try and take care of this flank. He knows that SG Pro have these aggressive tendencies, and he wants to take control of that right now, and could certainly work out in his favor. You can see that SG Pro kind of second-guessing themselves on that push, and that is a smart option. They're surely going to get taken down to Sved if they push around these corners. As the Little Mix try and rummage elsewhere, see Rufire actually just backtracking, leaving just Duray on his lonesome towards this B bomb site with no information just yet. Spots the smoke. There's the follow-up incendiary grenade, and that will surely isolate these terrorist members, leaving just BQ down below. Cannot make this push as of the 35-second mark. Some more Molotovs as well to force the Ray all the way forward. He hasn't been spotted, remember, so they need to check these corners fast, and they do. There's the trade from BQ, and that brings us into a 3 versus 3 on this B bomb site. 20 seconds, BQ with more and more. He's doing everything here as he spots out additional shoulders, limbs spotted, and Kiza does maintain his life into the retake. Needs to find these angles and wait for Fame to come inside, but Sved, was that mid-air in the head? I think it might have been kind of lost for words there.
This has just been such a dominant round from Lil Mix. I mean, all off the back of BQ going big at the start. Sved finding a couple of nice headshots to close it as well. And Kiza, he just wants to try and hold on to this AWP. If he can do so, then maybe they have something to work with going into the next. They don't really have a lot of money to buy regardless, but of course it is going to be round number 15, so they have to pull out whatever they can. And maybe with Kiza having some cash, he could actually drop 2 rifles here, and they could pull out a full buy.
Yeah, they certainly could, and that's what we're kind of looking at right now. Whether that's a possibility, this could certainly be a 10-5 if Little Mix can play the cards right on this final round of the half. Otherwise, 9-6, definitely close. I think the SG Pro would need the pistol to stay firmly in contention, but there's a way with rifles that they can actually pull it back anyway, even without that pistol round. It would have to be a convincing performance to do this aggressing once again, but Little Mix have been dealing with this one very convincingly. And once again, it's just Sved hitting these headshots. He's more than ready for Roofire.
Oh, DeRay. That's a really ambitious one. And BQ, he's going to punish you for it if you make a mistake like that. It does go back the other way. 2 versus 2 situation. But BQ and Quicks right now, they're wrapping back round to A.
Exactly, and well, that's kind of what we're looking for. 2 versus 2 scenario as we go down to the absolute wire. 70 seconds. Molotov forces Kiza into the open, and that missed shot seals his fate. It's cremation time at the end of the half as double digits come to convert.
Well, quite bizarrely, Bodemaster sitting 4 and 10. I mean, that's something that I really, really wasn't expecting. We kind of talked about him at the start of this game, about him being a super impactful player coming into this one. And well, in that first series, certainly showed his impact. Nonetheless, Lil Mix 10-5. They might just be able to finish off this job, especially if they can take this pistol round. And on this CT side, Quicks with that kit to work with. Fast player middle from SG Pro. And, well, Quicks, he's taken the brunt of this initial engagement. Sved trades 1 for 1. They need to try and hold up this B site, and it's not going to happen. The Glocks overwhelm it, and it will be the retake. Oh. Quicks does level out these numbers. It does, well, not quite level out the numbers. It's a 3 versus 2 still, of course. And, oh, that's the headshot needed. I think SG Pro should be able to close this one out as it's a 3 versus 1 situation. And Quicks really has no opportunity to get back into this. They go for the quad swing. And that is going to be it. 6 on the board then for SG Pro as they start to claw this one back. And Lil Mix, well, they're going to go for a force buy here in the second of the half.
Yeah, and with that double-digit first half, remember, I think that's a pistol round that SG Pro really needed to take. Otherwise, it goes 11-5, 12-5, and then when does that scoreline really stop? Obviously, when you're Little Mix and you've actually got the wind under your sails, that real momentum, that's when they play the best Counter-Strike M&J, and that's when I'd expect them to just finish off a map like this.
Oh, Fame finds that opener. We've seen SG Pro not take any chances in their second round. They know how deadly Lil Mix can be on these force buys. And in every single second round where they've won the pistol, they've gone for a full rifle setup. They've sacrificed that utility to make sure that they have got the firepower and that they can contest these gunfights at range. 3 AKs, 2 Galils in play to work with. A lot of damage being dealt from Lil Mix.
And that's what's really important as well on this CT side. If you can find a couple of sneaky shots, then these rounds really become contentious. Aggressive angle, BQ, that's a triple spray down. He basically rinses the lot. And with the flank coming in as well, they don't need to take these aggressive stances, M&J. DeRay can just hold this one at bay, and he is absolutely stuck right now. Quicks makes the key mistake, does a little bit of damage in response, but 44 points of health. This is certainly doable with 40 seconds on the clock. Needs to go back up to the A bomb site, but these Little Mix players are in the best positions possible.
How on earth does BQ do it? 4 kills, almost the 5th. DeRay is left in an impossible situation. There's definitely an opportunity for him if he can get onto one of these bomb sites and he gets lucky, guesses the position of his opponent. But as you said before, Sved and Isaac playing this situation perfectly, just hiding, running down that clock with only 10 seconds left to spare. DeRay has to go for this plant. And I guarantee you that as soon as he does so, Sved's going to peek out and deny it. Does hit that shot. Oh, doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah,
doesn't go down in time.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? And does that mean that he dies after time? I think it does. I'm not sure. No, it doesn't. He died right before that bomb went down, so that's fair enough. You obviously get the loss bonus, not that it's too impactful with only $1,400 in your back pocket. We always talk about it at M&J. If you win the pistol and lose the follow-up, it's just as bad, if not worse, than losing the pistol outright, especially as far as the economy is concerned. It puts Little Mix at just a brutally disastrous position here for the SJ Gaming side, and especially with these rifles back in hand, you see how good this Little Mix buy is. No AWP, but all of the trimmings along with the AK-47s as well. That's why you don't want to buy a lot of rifles going into your follow-up rounds. You run the risk of giving them away to the Desert Eagles.
SG Pro right now looking like they are more than likely about to go 12-6 down. And DeRay actually didn't have any cash going into this round. He didn't get the bonus. He did die after time. Yeah, he had $900 in the bank already. Bought himself a deagle, of course, but he can't die before the C4 goes down. That C4 was planted just after time, and then he dropped. So
that's the problem, M&J. When I see $900 in the bank, that seems like a lot of money to me.
Well, it's because it is, but you can buy Desert Eagle with it. I think that probably correlates to real-life Desert Eagle costs. Here in Counter-Strike, though, that's just not going to be enough against the rifles. Little Mix, they should be able to get onto 13 here. This is going to be a full eco from SG Pro.
I could buy some Hellcase cases.
You could do. You could do. Well, $900 get you quite a few Hellcase cases.
Probably quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
Either way, quick kill towards the middle of the map. It's PT-50s to do the damage, but now they've got to contend with the bulk of this buy. Here come the rifles, and Little Mix just absolutely collapsed. You see how fast that wrap and rotate is? And even though they lose Quicks right off the bat, they're not going to lose anybody else.
Well, rifles all round. Maybe Quicks pulls out an AWP here. Yeah, he does. Okay, AWP gets dropped over to him. And Lil Mix, they're going to have a full investment. The rifles, the AWP to work with. SG Pro, almost at that point, but they don't have the full utility. I'm actually quite surprised Roofire's only got a smoke grenade in hand. He could definitely afford a couple of flashes, a HE here, maybe even a Molotov and a HE, but instead, yeah, he's just opting for that single smoke. So a lack of utility certainly could have been avoided somewhat. Instead, Lil Mix, they've drawn a lifeline.
Yeah, they certainly have. 90 seconds left to play, and with Little Mix, just holding them at bay, it's going to be finally the burst fire. It's Sved to go down, and this whole B-bomb site is taken in. You know what, M&J? This is the best position to save. You've got great economy. There's no reason to risk this 3 versus 5. This is what I want to see Little Mix do right now, and it looks like they are gesturing towards the save, which I think is the right option. And they are, yes. Good.
Absolutely. And I mean, in a matchmaking game, right? Let's say me and you are playing matchmaking right now. I fancy our chances in this 3 versus 5 situation. And even if I don't fancy our chances, I'm going to go for it anyway because I'm more than likely bored at this stage. But at a professional level, the actual conversion rate on a 3 versus 5 retake like this is very, very slim. You've probably got a 10% chance of actually making that happen and winning the round. So it's really not worth going for. There's far, far more value in actually saving those rifles across and not having to reinvest for 2 players into the next.
Yeah, exactly. And although their economy is actually quite buoyant, obviously saving a couple of rifles, obviously give them a full buy going into this. And then Sved's even got a little bit of change left over. $3,800 for the next round as well. Gives you a little more buoyancy for those AWPs later in the game. The only priority right now is closing these rounds out, getting to 16 before your opponent. EQ, roasting and toasting alive. Feels like Molotov City. They're on a ramp. As Fane steals away a first shot, these rifles from SG Pro actually paying dividends. BQ's going to be fine in the meantime. That's not before the trade comes in, but it's still negatives all around from Little Mix as they're trading unevenly. This is a 3 versus 2, and the Orc needs to hold up the pressure if the push even does come into the A-bomb site.
Well, that nade only doing a tickle of damage, and Sved right now, he's really... Well, I was about to say on the wrong bomb site, but it's looking like they are actually rotating, so maybe he is in the right position with this utility as well. There's definitely potential for him to go big here, but with a minute left on this clock, he has been spotted, hits the headshot. Now needs to deploy this smoke, stay alive for a little bit longer, wait for his teammate to rotate in. This is a very doable 2v2, especially as he spins and finds the headshot. This is all falling apart for SG Pro, and if this doesn't work in their favor, it's going to be 14 for Lil Mix. DeRay absolutely needs to clutch up this 2-on-1, finds himself the first. The spray transfer connects, but no kill found. Bodenmaster finishes things off, and Lil Mix are on to 14.
So sensational. I don't know how the hell they do it. It always feels like Sved's pulling in the heavy lifting. 24 and 13 for him. You see him just twisting and turning there on the B-bomb site. Really that positional advantage working to his favor in SG Pro. They take perhaps the final tactical timeout of this tournament. They obviously need to pull this one through if they're going to have any chance on this second map. And realistically, Lil Mix, they're 1-0 up in maps, and they're 14-7 up in rounds. It might be a second map in the next couple of moments as we are coming to the close of this second round of 16 matchup.
They might just be able to close this one out right here. SG Pro certainly not as close as the last one. Of course, they were able to bring it right back. It went to OT. They just weren't able to tip it over the edge in that overtime. Lil Mix, though, they're one away from getting themselves onto series point, and with that, they'll probably more than likely be able to close. A lot of preliminary damage dealt over towards ramp. And Lil Mix, they're playing a much more passive defense towards this A side.
And still with the flashes over the top, it's Little Mix. Obviously, without the AWP, it's something that we haven't seen thus far this map. Sinator, no idea how he nails that one. That looked like a totally blind shot. It was through the smoke, and there's the follow-up as well. Conversion onto Isaac. Now he's going to walk into quite the bear trap. The double set piece configuration, and there's no way that they check the quicks here. Already 2 players have peeked towards scaffolding. This is so genius, and BQ is driving the initial distraction to mean that they won't peek over. Quicks does steal away that first shot, and there is no follow-up off the back of it. He does get traded, and at the 50-second mark, BQ can just try and hold the time down. He's got a million years to wait for this bomb to be planted, and Keezer's going to take the swing anyway. What a risk on 24 HP, and it all is down to Sved. Once again, he's been the man of the moment this map. 25 frags, and now he needs 2 more M&J. 50 HP left to work with, and plenty of utility as well. Desperately didn't want to make thank yous, but there's the first frag for free. No damage dealt, but to raise the man on full HP, playing away towards that side angle, and he will take the swing outwards and onwards. Sved doesn't get the job done this time.
Comes incredibly close, though. Another one-on-one situation. And it's one of those rounds that SG Pro, they'll of course be happy that they won, but considering how close it came, I don't think it will be a big confidence booster. Lil Mix, they are just reinvesting into this one. Only the Deagles to work with. That single M4 in the hands of Sved, and, well, a smoke and a flash. Really not a lot of utility. SG Pro should be able to take this one with ease, but I don't know. I'm not too sure. These Deagles, as we've said plenty of times, do seem to be able to cause some major upsets.
They certainly can, and especially in the hands of Little Mix, and that's why they've gone for it, of course, Josh. This isn't about economical damage. The game's practically over. They're looking to end this early, sooner rather than later. Obviously, they're in that double eco territory where there's no point going for a full investment, and if Sved's going to hit shots like that, then this might be over right now. Just call the cops, call the coroner. It's 15-8 if they can get the job done, and Sved wants to ensure it. He's now got the AK-47 with plenty of weapons dropped, remember. Little Mix can go back and try and pick those. You see one M4 granted given away to BQ. That's a massive member to give such a rifle to. They needs this shot right now, and it's BQ to find it. This might be map over, Josh. It will be 15 if Rufire, the captain, the man making all the noise in the first map, cannot pull through this 1 versus 3. He's got the bomb on his back and plenty of space towards this B bomb site. But with a double set piece configuration, he should know that there are 2 CT members watching and waiting here, closing all of the angles, doesn't want to take any unnecessary risks, but he's going to have to take one, planting this bomb. That's the big risk that he really has to go for in this situation. Takes the peaks and nobody really giving him anything to work with in BQ with a second to close out the round. What a performance from him and Sved.
Yeah, that is absolutely sensational. The 2 players that are putting up all the frags, by far the highest fraggers on the server, are the ones to put their team onto series point. Fantastic position from Sved at the very start to find those 2 openers, and then BQ just picking up the pieces right at the end. That's absolutely sensational. As we go into what could be the final round, Lomix actually call a pause. I'm not sure. That's not going to come through in time. They might just be able to finish this one off right now. They're just against the Deagles. Oh, no. Round resets. Okay. All right. We're going for a little pause.
They shook the admin. Of course, if damage isn't dealt, you are entitled to call a pause, no matter how late into the round it is. Some tournaments back in the day, back in the good old days, as soon as you left freeze time, that would be it. You couldn't call one any longer. And that would have been the break even. I think that a lot of teams maybe got their head bent out of shape a little bit over those ones. And you can see why. If you've got a technical issue and you're 5-10 seconds into the round and nothing has been done, it does make sense. Sometimes that rule can be a little bit misconstrued by certain people.
Well, it looks like Sved has a headset problem. His headphones have stopped working, so...
Sved's got a problem with his head.
Yeah.
Can't hear anything. That's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are always too quick to blame their headphones. Maybe it's something with their ears. If sounds stop coming through,
we should have an on-site doctor. His ears could have very easily stopped working, to be honest.
Yeah, equally as viable.
Monitor drops. Maybe your eyes are just broken. Maybe we should have medics in all of these houses. We get 10. I think that's a better way to spend the budget, to be honest. Well, let's reduce the prize pool for this tournament by about 125,000, and we'll pay professional doctors to go to all 10 houses for each match to solve these problems on the fly.
And physiotherapists and all of it. That's something that I've always found bizarre in esports, and I think it's wonderful, but the whole these top teams having like masseuses and like
not a hand massage.
Wow, maybe that helps. I don't know. Even the life coaches and stuff, crazy.
Like life coaches and everything like that. That was one thing that famously helped Astralis. We've got to remember. The sort of like mentality coaching and everything seemed to turn their game around from choking in semi-finals to winning major after major.
Well, maybe it's something to take into account, but I doubt either of these guys have got the budget for it. I don't know.
Maybe it wasn't the therapist, as they said. Maybe it was the hand masseuse.
Maybe. I could be these guys' life coach. I think I'm quite... You
wouldn't do the hand masseuse job?
No. I wouldn't do the hand masseuse job. I don't think I'd be a great life coach. I'm quite cynical about everything.
Let's face it, you're going to lose the semi-finals.
Yeah, let's face it, you guys suck.
Get over it now.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my approach.
Maybe not the best approach. 15-8, though, in the meantime. Bomb going down. This will be number 9.
Yeah, Little Migs, they are just going to fall away from this one. Not something to really contest with at all. Sved and Boden, they're going to just save the rifles that they have, or at least try to. And SG Pro, I'm actually quite surprised they managed to wriggle their way back into this one. Of course, they just had the Deagles. They were really fighting for their lives. It wasn't anything spectacular. We didn't see any crazy individual play where someone really tipped the scales, but... There we go. Boden. I'm not really sure what he's doing.
He's having fun. He's having a blast. I want to see the power match odds, to be honest. If you say, you know how you do it? If you say, there's a phrase that you can say. If you say open sesame, that's how you see the power match odds.
What, like Beetlejuice or Biggie Smalls or...
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll try it. I'll try it.
If you stare into a mirror and say Biggie Smalls 10 times, he appears.
I mean, I didn't get it, did I? It obviously doesn't work.
No.
Either way, coming up to double digits for SG Pro, and this is another force by M&J. Do you agree with this?
I'm not sure. I mean, they've definitely got rounds to play with, but they have to be really cautious not to just give them away. Of course, they could just go for a full eco here, have a full investment going into the next, and try and close it out 16-10. Instead, if this doesn't work out for them, then it goes 15-11, and that's where it actually starts to get quite dangerous. If they then don't win that buy round, SG Pro are really, really back into this one. So it is actually important that they play this one very disciplined and tip this one over the edge. But so far, I like the way that they're playing this.
Yeah, this is also the most notoriously T-sided map of them all, but if Little Mix can close this out right now with just these ragtag weapons, then props to them. They're going to the quarterfinals. 45 seconds left to decide. If Senator wants to be the can opener towards the A-bomb site, that pointy letter under contention, spots some shins, and then spots a scalp. It's BQ to drop along with Isaac. As Quicks, I think he might just have to save this. I don't know if he even wants to carry the UMP 45 into the next. I would suggest not. 25 seconds. If he speeds this up, then maybe he could even prevent this bomb from going down, but he would need the knife out and take a lot of risks on these follow-up corners. And Senator is so snappy, isn't he? 10-15. SG Gaming, they need 5 to take this to OT.
Well, I definitely saw a world where that happened. Of course, Quicks, he was up against 2 low HP opponents, that UMP, he had the time and the space to work with. But of course, a 1 versus 3 isn't something that you see clutched up all too often. So in round number 26, it is going to be a full eco here from Lil Mix. Just that pistol to work with. The Formula P250 on Isaac, he had a little bit of extra cash, and that's going to merit him a headshot. So nothing really to grumble at, just your standard run-of-the-mill eco. Quicks, oh, he had an opportunity to get himself one of his own. If he can convert it, then it won't be too bad. So much damage dealt, but only the single kill. And Lil Mix, I think this is going to be a buy. No AWP available, limited utility, but the rifle's all round, and they want to try and close this out 16-11.
Remember that there's no AWP in play here for Little Mix, and that's all off the back of them forcing these investments a little earlier on into the half. That didn't make sense then, and it certainly doesn't make sense now when you actually look at the buys and how it's all unfolded. Obviously, Quicks missed a couple of shots there, needs to flush that one off, considering it doesn't even matter. Money, doing damage isn't even impactful. BQ, what was that? 3 frags, fully blind, and even going for more. Senator down to 15 points of health, and there's Quicks to finish off the job. Little Mix might have just done it. Is SG Pro, they're not just going to the bottom bracket, but out of this tournament. Singular limb style, baby.
That is absolutely sensational. Time and time again, we saw several rounds that game where BQ single-handedly tipped that one over the edge for his team. We saw a massive 4K earlier on where that turned the tides and actually brought them back into a position where they could close it. And then we saw it right at the end there when it was starting to look a little bit dangerous. A 4K and almost the ace.
Yeah, and everybody having their time to shine, right? Stepping up at different moments. Really exciting series, all things considered. And going exactly as scheduled. I think we were perhaps expecting a third map. That would have definitely happened if maybe map 1 had gone a slightly different way. Of course, this map pool didn't really go as we expected. I think that Little Mix maybe overperformed our expectations. They're on Vertigo, obviously not their map pick, and they just seem like the absolutely dominant team. That might have been mental resilience, though, failing out. I've got to say, Josh, when SG Pro win, it seems to be 2-1. Very close series when they're constantly in the game. A lot of their losses, even against less notable teams, are all 2-0s. Maybe that's something to look in for. When they lose that close first map, it feels like then they just drop dead in the series. That might be a pattern that we see going on to follow-up tournaments. Won't be a pattern that we'll see in this one because they are eliminated.
Yeah, it's a real shame. They put up a really, really valiant fight, but it's just not enough. We were given a close series. We weren't, of course, given the 3 maps, but an overtime at the start. Vertigo did shape up to be quite a close game. As you say, the Lil Mix definitely overperformed on Vertigo. We really weren't expecting that, considering what they were at one point 15-9 up. Very, very dominant stuff at one stage. But nonetheless, a really fantastic series from them. I'm excited to see what they do going forward. They were looking really strong, especially a man like BQ, who's someone that we didn't really give too much attention to at the start of this. We were talking about Quicks, we were talking about Boden, but BQ right there, and Sved as well. 2 big names to really look out for in the future matches.
Certainly so. Exciting series, and we're only halfway through today. We've got winstrike versus Project Eversio coming up in the European Development Championship. This is all presented to you by Gaming Malta, home of gaming excellence. We've seen so much great Counter-Strike back in the qualifiers and here in the wild card, and I'm sure that we'll see more after this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with winstrike versus Project Eversio. a super matchup coming thirdly here today. It's between winstrike and Project eversio. They're getting into the action now, but what do we think of this one, Josh?
I'm very excited, at the very least. I think the Project eversio were a side that really surprised us in the multinational league. And we talked throughout the whole of it about the fact that they were clearly just of a much higher caliber than the other sides, and I was very excited to see how they would actually do, how they would hold up against some of these better teams. They've drawn the short straw a little bit. They've got to face up against winstrike straight off the bat, who are definitely one of the strongest, if not the strongest team in this wild card tournament. So I think this is going to be an incredibly difficult matchup for them, but I am super interested to see how they hold up.
Yeah, I think I'm interested as well. That's what we talked about from beginning to finish, pretty much at no end over that multinational league, right? How would these teams actually fare when you put them on the international stage? Because we've got a bit of a project here, right? We're talking about how a team who dominated the whole of that region actually fares when you put them up against one of the better CIS teams, one of the better European teams. And realistically here, if they can get out of this round of 16 bracket into the quarterfinals, I think that would be a massive result for them. Obviously, you saw those power match odds earlier as well. We obviously spoke about them a little bit. Very one-sided in winstrike's favor. I think a lot of the bettors over at our friend's website is just expecting this to be a very one-sided performance and not even necessarily close either.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you've got to bear in mind that there's no data to go off of for Project eversio. A lot of these betting sites draw their information through sites like HLTV and things like that. And Project eversio, none of the players on their roster have ever played a match on HLTV. As a roster, they've never played a match on HLTV, so they are completely unknown, and therefore the betting sites not only are going to stack the odds against them, but are actually maybe inclined to not stack the odds against them as much on the basis that they're a completely unknown entity. But I think that adds loads and loads of excitement to it. And you say that for them to get out of this round of 16 would be a massive win for them. I completely agree. I think they'll be absolutely chuffed if they can do that. However, if they can beat winstrike, they can beat anybody here. Yeah, there's no reason why they can't take it the full distance if they can beat winstrike. And I mean, those paramatch odds, they're not as one-sided as I was expecting.
No, they're certainly not, to be perfectly honest with you. 1.2 to 4.2. I think that that's just off of the very one-sided map pool here, thinking that Vertigo is sometimes a little bit of a wildcard map. This is the wildcard qualifier, of course. You're thinking that that could throw a curveball in the mix. Train as well. If maybe eversio can put together one of those massive CT sides, then there's every opportunity there that they can really try and take it over the top. And I think that that's kind of the storyline that we're building into this, right? Is eversio, they're massive underdogs. They've got a big mountain to climb, but they showed us potential in that multinational league. And let's see if they can unlock that potential and achieve it here today.
Yeah, as a caster, I'm really not allowed to be biased, but I mean, I really want Project eversio to win. It's like a proper underdog story, isn't it? It's like, I always back the underdogs. And it would be absolutely super. Even if they could take a map here against winstrike, even if they just put up a good fight. That's what I want to see. I want to see these guys come in, and I want to see these guys putting up rounds. I don't want this to just be a complete whitewash.
Yeah, and of course, that's kind of what we're talking about with our partners over at Gaming Malta, right? They're trying to support that Maltese region, support the esports ecosystem as a whole, and supporting those teams from some of the more isolated regions of the world is definitely the way to do that. And now Project eversio, they're the team who get the chance on the big stage. I think they're going to be feeling nervous coming into this one, though. winstrike, it's a big team. The likelihood is they wouldn't have even scrimmed against these guys all too much. And to be perfectly honest, considering that they're in different regions as well, maybe a couple of times you can book a slot against a European team, perhaps, maybe one of those tier 3 teams. But this is a step up from anything that we saw in those multinational league matches. I think that Project eversio might be a little bit in over their head coming into this game, but we have to see, right? We've not even seen a pistol round yet. And maybe if those heavy hitters come in, we saw Zaka and Krapow. We actually had a great interview with Krapow as well at the end of the multinational league after they won the grand final. But Counter-Strike, it's a cruel mistress. You come back to step 1, 0-0, and against one of the best teams in this wildcard qualifier, don't fancy your chances.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Well, I very much doubt that Project Eversio have ever actually scrimmed against winstrike. Maybe they have. Maybe they've played against them in a qualifier or something like that. But I think that we're talking about different regions. We're talking about very different tiers. And as we dive into the roster, well, that's the winstrike roster on your screen right now. A lot of massive experience on this side. And the man that really sticks out for me is, of course, Bondic. He's been playing for longer than I've been in CS. And yeah, real legend in my mind.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that Bondic is certainly somebody to watch out for. You've got Nickelback there, who a lot of the time is taking on that IGL hat, along with Bondic, perhaps, who's providing a lot of that experience. Obviously, the ex-in-game leader of the now Virtus Pro roster, back when they were back in Prosto, so bring a lot of experience after Jame kind of took the reins and elevated them to one of the best teams in the whole of the CIS scene. I don't think that that's a height that they really achieved under the Prosto banner, to be perfectly honest. Project Eversio now, names that you definitely wouldn't have heard of unless you watched some of these Malta National League matches. Obviously, Krapau, Zaka, we've talked about those two already. I think that Milan and Kyle, probably two of the better players on this team, and obviously they're going to be looking to bring the firepower here today. And as an underdog team, sometimes that just de-applies the brakes. The pressure is completely off. Hey guys, we're not supposed to win this match anyway, so let's just give it all we've got. Let's go for 110% and try and take this one over the top without even feeling too much pressure at all.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you've got to remember, you've got to go back to what we saw before from these guys. Super hyper aggressive plays. Now, this was in the Multinational League where I think they were just super confident that they were way better than their opponents. But you saw players like Krapau just running around, taking all of the gunfights, playing hyper aggressive. And as you say, because the pressure's off, because they're in a match where they know that, like, then there's no way they're going to win this match, or it's very unlikely that they're going to win this match. They know that it's super unlikely that they're actually going to go through and qualify, which is the only incentive for this wild card. So their best chance is coming into this one, playing that super aggressive play style, trying to showcase that your aim is on par with some of these players, and yeah, just try and put up the best fight you can, put up as many rounds as you can.
I think that's everything that Gaming Malta is doing, right? It's about giving players who don't get the opportunity a stage. Here's your stage. You've got a best of 3 right now. It's online. There's no excuses. You're obviously going to be playing on an even playing field, and you go right back to zeros with every single team that you play against. And if they can get into the quarterfinals, into the semifinals, really give us a good run for their money, then I think that they will make a big statement on the scene. And you've got to say that there's a lot of kind of investment in the multi scene. We see a lot of esports organizations verging towards that particular country. They would be an absolute dream. If you have a team who can actually compete on the international scene, that would be an absolute dream. So it's not like the opportunities aren't there. You've got to get them in these matchups. If you're not good enough, then it's time to go back to the drawing board. But this is where all of that practice, those years of practice, and especially the last couple of weeks of practice as a roster, because remember, because there are so few tournaments in Malta generally, a lot of those rosters were actually put together just for that tournament, saying, boys, there's a sick opportunity here. Let's join this tournament. And obviously, we saw those invites, we saw those qualified spots. And I think that's what's really interesting about this one.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as you say, if Project Eversio could prove themselves to be a team that could compete at a decent or relatively high tier European level, then they would have so much backing. It would be fantastic. They have the infrastructure around them. And it's all because Malta's an awesome country, Jamie. I've been telling you this since I met you.
I know. I want to go to Malta. That's where I want to set up my sunbed and lie down. But for the time being, I'm in the very cold United Kingdom. You are as well. You've got your snow jacket on, and we're getting into the pistol. I'm excited for this one, Josh. This is the one that I've been looking forward to today. Please bring the fire.
So have I. Well, whilst we're in ice-cold England, these guys are at the top of a skyscraper here on Vertigo, and wow, a hyper-aggressive stance towards ramp. Very early kills, and Krapau is actually the first man to come out on top. Elian, perfect position, goes completely unchecked, and he's able to find himself 2. not quite the third as Project eversio. They're doing a lot of damage. They're actually trading here.
Yeah, and that bomb goes down in the meantime as well. So now we'll see what Project eversio's team play is made of. This is where they'll really be challenged against Bondic and his crew. On towards this A bomb site. First frag found. Sweat's forced out into the open, but he finds a very snappy headshot in the meantime. The smoke is down and the defuse is not happening. And Sweat is finding every shot. Project eversio with a pistol.
That is incredible. 4 headshots from Swez. And obviously Crap opening things up. I love the way they played that pistol round. Bombard the ramp with flashes and then push right through. And of course, look at these peri-match odds. They're already shifting ever so slightly in Project eversio's favor. I think people are starting to realize that these guys might be here to play.
Yeah, just off the back of a pistol round, we know how big an advantage that actually gives you. I think the betters especially are very fickle as well, so you will see that storyline progress as we go forth in this series. And I think as winstrike maybe concede a couple more rounds here, this is going to be a force buy. That's where things get a little more dangerous.
Well, the Deagle's in the hands of very, very capable aimers, but the rifles are what Project eversio have to work with. Nothing found for Crepau early. Does get the information, though. But as they creep, they're taking this map control. They are actually going to try and wrap around to B, and I think they'll have success in doing so.
And with that frag traded out, Zaka's going to find another one in the meantime. And, well, Elian, he's able to actually drop the bomb in translation. That puts Swez and Krapau in a really difficult position where they have to do the damage with this AK-47 Galil combination. Krapau's leveled up the numbers. He was maybe the MVP from the grand final that we saw just the other day. And 50 seconds left to play with. Another swing comes through, and Elian not going to connect that shot, that one either. Bit of damage, no frag. Leaves just Bondic looking to level up the scoreline. And Krapau, he's got the bomb, could absolutely do this one. As he swings back to the curly letter, now needs to tap in the digits.
Bondic, he's either wrapping round to the stairs or he's assuming that this might be an A-take. Krapau not committing to this plant whatsoever. He is still expecting Bondic to be a middle, and he might get a bit of a shocker when he realizes that he is wrapped all the way around. With 15 seconds left on this clock, absolutely has to go for the plant. But Bondic is hot on his heels, and Krapau has so many angles to be wary of. Surely he doesn't check his backside. Oh, he does, but can't quite convert it.
That's so unfortunate there, and just shows the brain power of Bondic. We've obviously talked about him as such an experienced member. So damn good, and that'll level up the scoreline 1-1.
Well, that certainly came incredibly close. Much closer than I would have expected. I was really expecting, I don't know, winstrike to come into that one with a lot more, but came right down to the wire. And here as we get into this third, I assume Project eversio forced back into this and try and snatch it back away. That's exactly what they're going for.
Exactly, and they don't want to concede this early in the game as well. You don't want to go for the eco here. I think that they'll be playing much more standard Counter-Strike. You even see the Galil coming out in Krapau's hands.
I didn't think so either. These pistols all round really do accompany a really fast play here from Project eversio. And when this Molotov actually dissipates, I think they might go for this one. Nades raining in, only doing minimal damage. And Project eversio, I want to see them group up and hit a site hard as a unit.
Me too. Lackey, he's the only player defending this B bomb site. Wanted that initial information, but it's Krapau to find it instead. They put him in a powerful position, and he's able to take full advantage and not take much damage as a response. winstrike, though, the rotations and the reinforcements, they're already here. And with Zaka nailing that nade, Nickelback, unfortunately for them, he's able to strike back twice as hard. Krapau, another headshot. And remember, Elian's low on HP from the early portions of this round. So this is where things get touch and go. Even HP and no flank this time, and the bomb goes down. So the Molotov over the top, that incend's going to land right onto this B bomb site. And Project eversio playing a very different game to what we're used to seeing. Most teams prioritize A the majority of the time, and with those nades not connecting, Elian's right over the top, and Zaka's going to take it. It's all down to Bondic once again as he finds himself in another 1-versus-1 situation. He closes in the distance. He hasn't spotted out Krapau. He's right around the corner, and with that smoke, preferably able to bait him out. He's going to tap the bomb, and he's got no kit to play with. Going to get right off of this one. Joshua Krapau takes the swing, and I don't think that Bondic's got enough time for this one. He'll save the AK instead.
Oh, that's unfortunate. He doesn't have a kit. Probably would have been able to defuse it just in the nick of time if he did. But Project Eversio, what is this that we're seeing? They've actually won the pistol, lost the second, forced bought in the third. They've taken down winstrike in an anti-eco round where they've just had the pistols against the rifles. They are putting up a hell of a fight here, and I want to see this continue.
Me too. I think with the rifles as well, and, well, the firepower advantage, this is where you can really apply pressure on the terrorist side.
Well, fast play towards ramp. Once again, it's another forced fire from winstrike to contest it. And Bondic, oh, he's just been torn apart instantly. That saved AK, not working out, not doing anything for him. And this should be an easy enough site for Project Eversio to take just against his limited weapons.
And they've got plenty of time to do it as well, so they definitely don't have to speed up off the back of getting that first frag. They've got plenty of options on the server right now. They can go back to the B-bomb site if they really want to. And with a minute 15 on the board, you see these initial peaks and a bit of extra damage onto Nickelback. That obviously exposes him. You can hear those dinks coming through. And with Hooch taking the aggressive swing, it gets traded right back. Project Eversio playing a good game, but now has to be aware of the flanks, the deagles, those deadlier weapons all coming to fruition. Right onto the B-bomb site, knowing that this has gone completely unguarded. C4 should go down, but still an opportunity for winstrike to get back into this one. They are edging their way in, actually quite speedily. And as Nickelback nails the first, that will be the trade on to Mejta.
And winstrike bounce it right back. This has been a very, very back and forth game so far. We sit 2-2, and not a single team has been able to string together more than one round. It's gone 1-1-1-1. I don't care who it is. I just want someone to string 2 rounds together and actually start establishing a bit of a bank and a bit of a foothold here on Vertigo.
Yeah, and that's what you really want to do at this point. 2-2.
Here in the 5th. Another force buy here for Project Eversio. They're not letting up. That's kind of the old strat. You keep going for the force buys until one team wins that 2 in a row, especially when you're keeping those numbers low. With a lot of utilities to work with, flashes, smokes, no Molotovs, only a single HE. But definitely these run and gun weapons that they need to get themselves onto a bomb site.
And trying to overwhelm these players right off the bat as well isn't really the strat that they're going for. Just taking these aggressive fights and, well, trying to at least just find the first kill. But Lackey already puts winstrike 2 ahead. And with the smoke down as well, that creates a stalemate. And there's no opportunity to trade this frag before the 70-second mark. They'll be held at bay until that one dissipates. I think that Lackey is just going to keep this head glitch angle posted. He's not spotted out any extra intel, but with the rotate coming in, winstrike seem very aware that this is coming through. And what a firing range for Lackey. They're going to isolate themselves towards the B-bomb site. Flawless flash, but Hooch still retains his life, even as the second frag comes through from the flank.
Out of 3 versus 2, JCO is down to half health, but they've got plenty of time to work with. They've got the C4 on the back to work with. And I feel like their demise was literally just Lackey on that B site. The range of the rifle really causing Project Eversio some problems. But as they have a stab at it once again, it's only Hooch here to try and hold it up. M4A1S in hand, and that AK could just tear him to pieces, but he's able to fire off a few shots, goes completely unfinished, and JCO, that's a big mistake.
Yeah, that M4A1S has been the Grim Reaper.
The M4A1S that round, doing a hell of a lot of work. Definitely not my weapon of preference. I prefer the unsilenced version, the M4A4, but at that kind of range, very, very accurate. You can really hit those heads. winstrike, finally they're able to string 2 in a row, and off the back of it, they're against an eco. Should be a complete clean sweep.
And there goes the frags through mid. It's literally instantly taken away. And up against the Glocks, shouldn't really pose much resistance at that point. And considering winstrike are starting to mount a lead, I can't help but feel that Project Eversio need to get back into this one sooner rather than later. I don't see a big comeback happening in a series like this. And I think that the bettors will very likely agree with me. Oh, apparently not. Project Eversio, according to Paramatch, they have closed up those odds massively.
Wow. That is very, very surprising. I do think so far here on Vertigo, though, they are looking like a side that could definitely give winstrike a run for their money. Bondic, though, he's just tearing through them. This buy round not working out very well for them whatsoever, and a very snappy headshot at the end there really does finish things off. 5-2, and the full buy still in play. I don't think Project eversio will be able to pull out a whole lot here. I think it is just going to be Deagles, a little bit of Kevlar, back to basics for the Maltese side.
And that's been the case every second round, as it will be on your T side if you keep on whiffing without planting that bomb. That should be the bonus to give you a little bit of extra cash to work with. As they're playing this one isolated, winstrike are picking them apart more and more. I wanted to see a more coordinated approach, and while Swez, he's got other ideas, and it's actually working out perfectly. I think grabbing hold of that AWP is going to be much harder, especially with Hooch just holding down the line for not just one, but match to two. It's going to be 6-2 as Project eversio, they will have rifles in the next, but what a flawless performance here from winstrike in the first couple, and that money now building.
Of course, it mainly has just been against pistols in the last three, but winstrike are definitely looking like the better side here on Vertigo, especially in that last buy round. They just had it completely down to the T. They weren't contested whatsoever. I think this would be a bit of a turning point. If Project eversio can actually take this round, keep this one in contention, then I think we've still got a hell of a match on our hands. If it plays out like the last, then I think winstrike have just kind of sealed the deal a little bit. Crep out, does get legged. A bit of a whiff nade though from Elian, unable to finish him off. Not the best of starts from winstrike, but not terrible.
Yeah, I'd certainly prefer him to whiff the nade than stick around and try and hold up the fire against an AK-47 with only a grenade in hand as well. So actually making the better decision, all things considered, to just throw that one off as fast as possible. JCO quick frag, that's a headshot. And now they need to capitalize off the back of this. If Project eversio don't get into this one now, then it could be very over very quickly. winstrike, they've got the lead, and now they're just looking to retain it, maintain it, and realistically grow it before the end of this half. Looking for maybe 10, 11 rounds. That would be the benchmark in their heads. I think 8 or 9 is where you're definitely looking like an acceptable team. You know that winstrike, they'll have a good T side. It's over towards the B bomb site. This is somewhat of a fake, and it has forced that fourth man over. It's Elian towards this side of the map, but with Bondic getting aggressive, he's got all of the info, and that's something that Project eversio need to speed up off the back of and deal with Lackey right now. Flawless headshot from JCO. That's his second of the round, but now it's the priority to get that C4 down and away, and Elian, he says no. The flashbang does convert, and Zaka finds another one. This is so damn messy, and JCO now needs a quad kill, which he's unable to attain.
Not a convincing round by any means, but definitely another one that winstrike take. I think Project eversio, they do have the money behind them to pull out somewhat of a buy if they want to here. Instead, it's actually just going to be the half investment. They're going to go down to that 2k mark, go with those pistols once again. They did do a fair amount of damage last time they went for a buy like this. Now going to group up together, head over towards this A ramp, see what they can find early. A little bit of utility, 3 flashbangs, a smoke in play. Persuades, he gets tagged up early, and even more damage dealt.
And with Bondic finding that first shot as well, these Project eversio half-buy and force-buy rounds haven't been paying dividends whatsoever. You see all that utility usage pouring in the damage, and Project eversio just can't stand up to that pressure. This mid-control as well has been really prominent for the winstrike team. Obviously, Hooch with the M4A1S has been holding it the majority of the time. The rest has been Elian's AWP.
Bondic, he is just playing a dangerous game. Round after round, getting super aggressive. He's on 2 points of health in this one. He is playing, well, a little bit more of a passive angle. No idea how JCO's managed to creep into where he has. He's good for 2 before he drops. And Swez does a bit of damage towards the end too. So definitely impactful. Definitely takes a few rifles away. Keeps the winstrike economy at bay. But with 10k on every man, I don't think they'll be too bothered about the reinvestments. And 8-2 up, they are really looking to just extend this further and try and close this double-digit half out.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of what we were expecting coming into the early portions of this game. Obviously, we saw those back and forth rounds, and even Project eversio taking somewhat of a force buy early on, and maybe gave us a little bit of a glimmer of false hope. Here on Vertigo, you'd hope that, well, it's their map pick as well. We saw Project eversio play it so many times in that multinational league. if they can really pull it through in a series like this, that would be something spectacular. Even just one map here would be phenomenal here. If they can take maybe 13, 14 rounds even against winstrike, that would be a promising result for the future, and Krapow certainly wants that. Initial headshot and the A bomb site in contention, and he wants to take the peak through the fire and flames. Takes a tickle of damage as a response. The Project eversio aren't there, and that gives him no kills in response, but obviously a lot of information before this peak comes through, and it will be a peak where they have man disadvantage. So Elian can hold up the angle once again. That was frighteningly close, and that one does connect. Instant kill. There's the follow-up. No frags found for Nickelback before Elian's able to trade, but right through these smokes, you see how little information Hooch has got, but how many kills for his troubles, and Elian is still roaming, still hasn't been punished. And at the 45-second mark, Zaka Mejta, how do they even get the bomb down? They should be on the B bomb site right now. There's been a full rotate from winstrike, and well, peeking into the open against Zaka is definitely a way to get smacked out of the server. He will be handing out the punishment in this first map, and well, those flashbangs maybe even aided a peek off the back of it, but Lackey doesn't want to be too scatty in his approach. He's just playing a fairly more passive angle, and Mejta trying to hold it away as well. Only one kill for him, and he won't throw that thus far, just leaving Zaka with 10 seconds remaining. There's the bait play, and a no-scope to finish. Elian gets his face ripped off.
That is such a mental shot. The AWP is so inconsistent when you're not using that scope, especially at that kind of range. That is absolutely incredible from Zaka. What a round. winstrike played that perfectly, even not to peek off the back of the flashbang, just to ensure that even if he did turn the flash, there's no need. They just need to wait for the plant, and Zaka, he baits it perfectly. Round number 12, they've got plenty of money to work with, and they want to try and chip away further at this winstrike bank account.
Already on to ramping. Krapow, he's stepping up. That clutch has obviously given them a second leash of life and some confidence. With Zaka falling first, he's such a massive man to take down for winstrike. It sometimes feels like you've almost got the fraud effect there. When you take down Zaka, the rest of the team might even fall around him. I wouldn't say that it's that stark yet. 1 minute 15, mid-control not taken, and Swez another headshot. winstrike, they're getting greedy and punished.
I think they probably came into this one really happy. They were probably thinking, oh, yeah, this is going to be an easy game. Came in with loads and loads of confidence. Right now, they're realizing that it's a lot harder than they were expecting. And Mejta even taking 2 down with him before he falls to the flames. That's going to be 4 for Project eversio. And now, more than likely, an eco for winstrike. So maybe an 8-5 here.
Yeah, really not much money to play with whatsoever. This will be the AWP coming out in a full investment, supposedly. They're not showing Project eversio any respect whatsoever, and that might be one of the saving graces for eversio here. If they can salvage 7 rounds this half, maybe even a cheeky pistol as well. Remember, they did take the pistol round early in this one, and that's considering in the multinational league, the pistol round was actually one of their weakest rounds. So for them to take that against winstrike, obviously a couple of very notable pistol players on that specific roster. Interesting performance.
Oh, it definitely is. It's an interesting buy from winstrike as well. They've actually gone for a full force. Instead of keeping the money on Elian, though, for him to actually have that AWP in the buy round, he's gone for a glass cannon here, accompanied by some deagles, and M4 on Bondic with only a smoke grenade to work with. There's definitely a massive, massive margin for abuse here for Project eversio.
We've got to also point out as well that this isn't the full winstrike roster. Obviously, you would usually have Krisen in the mix. Right now, we've got Hooch, who has been a stand-in for years in this CIS scene. And, well, realistically, he's been filling Bondic's place for the last couple of months. And now on the server, obviously wants to have a big impact. Nickelback, fast shot, back to the B bomb site once again. Shot through the smoke. There's a slider onto Mejta and leaves JCO clutching at straws from up above. Dodges the flash, but not the shot from Nickelback 77. It's a quick shot from him and a 9th round for winstrike.
He's playing a dangerous game, being out in the open. Of course, playing around those smokes does somewhat make sense. You want to try and isolate those fights. You want to try and have that off angle. But that is going to allow winstrike onto that all-important 9. And as they don't have a lot of money left behind them, they are going to go for another full force. but they won't have that AWP available, and they will have a serious lack of utility on a couple of these guys.
Yeah, this does seem a little bit down in the dumps, doesn't it? When you look at that utility on a couple of these players, Ellie and Bondic. Obviously, Hooch has already thrown his incendiary, but a little bit of a lack of those fire grenades, especially towards this A bomb site where you pretty much want them on the ramp every single time. Crapo at least forced back momentarily from the first. Also, those retakes become a lot harder if you're going to have to use all of utility in your opening couple of moments. You see they're conserving these smokes, though. That's a tendency of this winstrike side. This is when the peak will come through, though, Josh. Obviously, Elian finds one, and Nickelback's got this angle behind the sandbags, now exposed, but nobody to peek off the back of it.
A little bit of a mistake there from Project eversio, but it's recovered beautifully as Zaka snappy headshot straight through the metal. Elian is here to pick it all up, though. Very, very nicely indeed. Mesha does trade it, but of course, when you get that Molotov into sandbags, you want to be swinging, you want to be killing the guy as he runs out. Instead, it's only the 1-for-1 trades, and Zaka, the last man remaining, only 1 point of health, surely can't get much done, and that's absolutely the case. Double digits for winstrike, 4 for Project eversio.
Yeah, he's the one player who you really think has a chance in that scenario. 10 kills, matching that scoreline of Krapow, who we talked about, really bigged up in the early portions of this one. 10-4, though, as winstrike massively leading the charge in this first half, and that's considering this is the most T-sided map in the pool. I think that Project eversio, they've had the chances, they've had their shots, they've taken a couple of those opportunities, but here they are starting to struggle as you get into the actual mix of this matchup. This will be a lot faster, though. The running gun onto this B-bomb site. Sweater jumping 360 Call of Duty shot with the AWP. But this is being shut away once again, and we will see 11 rounds winstrike at the end of this half.
Yeah, it is going to be an 11-4 for winstrike, and, well, that is just sensational, isn't it? Lion 21-10. He's been fantastic with that AWP. I'm not sure. I think Project eversio, they put up a fantastic start of the fight at the start. Definitely more than I was expecting. But since that, winstrike have just really, really been the better side.
Yeah, they certainly have been, and I think that that is reminiscent when you even look at the scoreboard. If you just look at 21 kills, of course, and on Elian, and everybody else is not really lagging too far behind everybody about that double-digit marker, which you can't say the same for Project eversio. We saw late in the half, Megster only had 1 kill. That's not the way that you want to be playing the game, of course, and, well, Project eversio is maybe just 1 pistol round away from losing this opening map, and considering Vertigo has to be a staple of their pool if they're going to continue in this tournament. This is where things get really dangerous here for them. Of course, the crossfire of USPSs, watching, waiting for the line to come through, and that's at least the first for Nickelback. JCO wants to take the follow-up angle, and it will get traded out sensationally. Still a man advantage towards winstrike, and now the bomb can very easily go down. Project eversio surely can't trade this. They're going to charge straight on in, and Bondic can't even tap those digits through. Hooch unable to defend this site, and Lackey coming in from the back in the meantime, wanting to apply the clamp. There's the pressure. Misses the shot, though, and Zaka wants to go for the double dip straight inwards onto Hooch to end this pistol. That would be both going Project eversio's way. What an upset, at least in these opening rounds of the halves. And Hooch knows these funky angles, but they're playing this one together. They don't want to give him an opening, and Zaka's going to shut him down.
What a pistol round there from Project eversio. It looked done once winstrike were on the site, but the retake to deny the plant just played absolutely flawlessly, and winstrike are in a position where they are actually going to go for a reinvestment. A force-up, HG, smokes, single flashbang to work with. Let's see how it holds up against the buy from the Project eversio side.
I think that this is where Project eversio just need to keep their heads in the game, get up to 6, 7 rounds, and then take it from there. Maybe get the scoreline a little bit out of your head. It's mid-control to start, and winstrike playing this one incredibly slowly. This is a passive style. Oh, quick shot, though, from Lackey right off the bat, and that's a follow-up. All of the 1-deeks coming through as Megster also soon to drop, and this gives away all of the rifles. This round's practically over already with the Tech 9s chipping in, and Project eversio, I don't know what went wrong in terms of their setup. It looked very standard to me, but a flawless round, and winstrike certainly doing something right. I think just a little step ahead.
Yeah, there are a few sensational shots just to put winstrike back in a position where they can just close here. If they lose that one, they allow Project eversio to start closing this gap, start putting more rounds on the board, and they kind of entertain this comeback. And they don't want to be doing that. They want to just close this one out as soon as possible, get themselves onto 16 and get themselves onto that second map of the series.
Yeah, certainly so. Pistols in hand, up against the full buy of winstrike. And with the MP9 coming into fruition, just holding these angles, Elian not been spotted as of this point, and winstrike just so much control onto ramp as well. He's basically the Grim Reaper of this whole area, and there's the opening shot coming through from him. Quick, just fallback option as well from winstrike. They're watching these flanks. They know that these pistols can just, well, actually just hold them at bay, but here comes the push from Bondik.
Suez last alive just with this deagle in hand. Oh, snappy headshot, but he needs another 4 of them, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get that. And there's your answer. Absolutely not. Gets taken down by Nickelback. And, well, that's going to be the 13th round on the board for winstrike. Really, really sensational stuff. And not a lot that Project eversio can do about it. 2k in the bank on every single man. They're going to have to go for this eco. They have to concede that 14th to their opponents. That means that, what, they're playing for 10 in a row, 11 rounds in a row just to take this one over the top. I'm not sure if I fancy their chances.
No, I certainly don't fancy their chances either. And with winstrike just holding down this angle towards the middle of the map, which should have been a firing range, but only the 1-for-1 trade. Now the M4 can try and mop up the rest. Lucky single shot can fall back and doesn't really want to give away any more rifles to this Project eversio side. They can wrap this one up 14-5 and feel very confident in their performance here today. I don't think they've been massively challenged in this series, especially not in this first map. You never know what's going to happen coming up next. Nickelback there to finish things off in another very convincing round for the winstrike boys.
One away from that point here on Vertigo, as they do face up against these M4s, and if they can dispose of them, then that might just be it. A very quick map so far, as winstrike, as I said before, they're on to 14 rounds.
Exactly, and well, that is obviously a tremendous performance here on this first map. I think what the majority of people were expecting as well. We followed those paramatch odds through the initial rounds of this game, and just a very one-sided performance there for winstrike, and I think that's what the majority of our audience was expecting here today. You never know, those unknown names can often be scary in a server like this, those untested, hungry players, but look at this massive gap in the defense. You've got the MP9 right behind, and I think that Elia might be going for a knife. Is it stabbity stab time? He's playing the spy from TF2, and there's Mejda shot right between the shoulder blades. Swear's able to trade, but already the damage dealt, and this is all falling apart at the seams. M4A4 to try and hold it away, and they are doing the damage, but the bomb can now try and go down, but it is only Bondik, and he wants to double dip into this one. He has to, considering the C4 is out in the open. He doesn't like traffic cones, and he surely doesn't like bullets to the brain. That's a 6 for Project eversio as they continue on in this first map.
Well, Project eversio staying afloat. I don't want to use the term comeback just yet, but they've got a life jacket on, and it's got some air in it. And if they can continue filling it with air, then they might actually have a chance of surviving. 14-6, plenty of utility to work with to keep the attackers away for as long as they can. They're nice up close and personal to these smokes. They have a nice gap in that ramp 1-2 to work with. And as Mejda gets that opening kill into middle, they've got a nice start here in the 21st.
They certainly do, and that's what they have to capitalize off right here. The AK-47's in play. Mejda Zaka, they're holstering those ones. But remember, this series can be over at any minute. Maybe not this series, but of course this opening map, considering that winstrike 14 pressing up against map point, and, well, yeah, could be very, very over very, very quickly. A ramp, that's in contention. winstrike Just need a couple of kills to pop this one open, and they've got the utility to do the job and get up close and personal against the rifle combination as well, especially since Project Versio don't have the AWPs in hand. Elian's got that range advantage. Flash forces him behind the sandbags, wants to take a second swing before the smokes bloom, giving him a slight avenue of approach. If he can spot a slither here, then there's every opportunity. He's aiding with the flashbangs in the meantime, and Crapo doesn't seem to want to peek whatsoever. He doesn't realize this, but that is a great decision. Obviously, with that bomb down, that's now going to change. There go the nades, but they're hyper unsuccessful. You have to throw them while the digit's being tapped in. And Elian sliding shot. Here comes the crossfire in winstrike. They might have just done it. Headshots galore on the A-bomb site, and it's winstrike on map point.
Well, when it's a 5 versus 4 like that, and they're on the site, you think to yourself, oh, there's a real good chance Project Versio making this retake happen. But that's not the case whatsoever. They get completely demolished as they try to get back into that one. And, well, just the Deagles to work with here in the final round, or what could be the final round, of course. MP9, Deagles, a little bit of utility, and winstrike should just be able to close this one out.
Yep, 9 opportunities to do so. Swears go for the double spray away. Might be his last highlight reel play of this map. It's lucky to trade it. Quick headshot. They still are only contending against the Desert Eagles. And that nade spots the trajectory, and Lackey sees a whole lot more. Now they can pour HEs of their own on through, and that's a guaranteed kill as of getting that initial intel. That's what makes winstrike in these upper tier teams so good. The ability to pick apart the defense at every point. And even though they went 2 players down, they might be about to close out this first map 16-6, and Lackey wants to secure it with a triple kill here. JCO last alive, and this one has fallen apart at the absolute seams, M&J.
Oh, it absolutely has. Wouldn't it be awesome if he can finish this off with a 1v3? But no, that's not going to be the case. So definitely, yeah, spoke a little bit too soon and maybe out of turn in that one. 16-6 winstrike take it. An incredibly convincing map. And we were expecting it, weren't we? We were definitely expecting winstrike to take it with style. And, well, Project Versio, I don't really know what to think about that. They definitely put up a fight. They definitely showed that with a little bit more tailoring, they could take down a side like winstrike. And maybe even if they were in a different position in the bracket and they were up against maybe one of the other teams, maybe a Project X, maybe a Lil Mix, they maybe could have actually put up something more.
Yeah, that's what we were really hoping for here in the European Development Championship even. Got my tongue tied a little bit there, but, you know, I'll get it eventually, M&J. Remember, all of this is brought to you by Gaming Malta in the meantime. They're doing a lot to support this one. They're a home of gaming excellence as well. Quick series, perhaps, for winstrike if they can close this out 2-0. We'll go to a quick break right now. We'll see if they can close it in 2.
experience shows a little bit. James definitely just looks well seasoned, the most reliable player on the team right now. Yukino gets his confidence back, then we can talk. He plays high volatility CS.